Good evening, everybody. We will call to order the City of Desert Hot Springs regular meeting of the City Council, and the City Council serving as the successor agency to the former Redevelopment Agency Board for Tuesday, March 19th, 2024. This is our 6 p.m. regular session. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Betts.
Present.
Councilmember Gardner.
Present.
Councilmember Nunez.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Pai.
Present.
Mayor Mattis.
Present. Our invocation tonight will be given by Mayor Pro Tem Jan Pai.
All this theory that we are here to be tested to see if we are worthy to endure, just so much nonsense. We are here for the delight of whatever it was that created us, as our whole life exists for the expression of our soul. What else could it be for? Life is made to live. Sing is made to sing, and a dance to dance. We have to be glad. We have to be happy. Now we have freedom. We have freedom to love. What is to stop me from loving you? Nothing but myself. It wouldn't be any of my business whether you loved me. But if I love you enough, you would. What is to stop me from being glad? It won't hurt anybody. It won't save anybody for me to be sad. Ideas of Power, page 134 to 135.
Thank you very much. Mr. Betts, would you lead us in the pledge, please?
Please stand, place your hand over your heart, and join me in saluting our nation's flag. Ready, begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
On the agenda, we'll be moving to the approval of the agenda. Before we do that, we'll be making an announcement that there's a supplemental report on the dais for item number 4, which is on the consent calendar, and I'll be requesting that that be pulled. We'll be moving item number 4 under item number 1. Under item number 1, so we'll go 1 and then 4 and then 2. Is there any other agenda items that you would want, this council wants pulled from the consent calendar?
Mr. Mayor, in addition to item 4, item 5 and item 7.
Is there questions, or are you going to need a full
quick
report?
question on 4, but I might take a little bit of time on 7.
I'm sorry, so you mean 5? You said you wanted to pull 5 and 7, and then you said you had a question on 4.
Yeah, 5, sorry.
So go ahead and ask your question on 5, see if we can get that answered, and then 7 we'll pull.
It's probably be longer than just a short question, so I'd like to take it up at the time on the agenda.
Is there any objections to Mr. Betts pulling the consent calendar items 5 and 7? All right. I'm going to ask the city council in the future, this is becoming a habit that we're pulling items off the consent calendar at the last minute. So we get this agenda on Thursday. If you have any inclination that you're going to be pulling these items, please let the city manager know so we can just put them on the administrative calendar rather than going through this exercise and pulling the whole consent calendar. We only have one item left on the consent calendar, which is item number 6. Is there any public comments on item number 6? No public comments. I'll take a motion to approve the agenda with the items 4, 5, and 7 pulled off and 6 approved.
So moved, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you.
Second.
Yeah, as soon as they come up on the screen, please vote.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you very much. We're going to move to the public comments. If anybody here that has public comments not on items on the agenda, so anything on the agenda, yes, sir. If you do have public comments, please fill out a blue card back there and give it to the city clerk. Gerald, raise your hand right there. That's our city clerk, and you can hand that in. I have some other comments, so city clerk right here. So I have other comments. We'll start with those, and then as soon as you get your blue card in, they'll bring it up. So I'm going to start with Tom Moen. These are on items not on the agenda.
Good evening. Tom Moen, 45-year resident of Desert Hot Springs.
On Sunday, I was so proud of my son. He ran in the Los Angeles Marathon, second year in a row. However, his buddy who went to run with him tripped and sprained his ankle. And my son, at that 10-mile marker, was too nice a man to leave his friend behind. And my older son picked them both up and took him for treatment. But I am so proud of my son that he is such a good character that he didn't leave anyone behind. That's important. In Desert Hot Springs, I still would like to know a little bit more about what's going on with Pearson Boulevard and the Highway 62. And I know Councilmember Pye has invited me to meet with her and Councilmember Betts, and I do want to do that. I've just had a lot of things going on these last 2 weeks, and I've been preparing and taking precautions for a medical procedure I'm going to undergo Thursday. I'll be 65 years old in June, and my sister's been nagging me to go in and let them put that camera inside and look around. So I'll be doing that this week, and so hopefully I'll have a little more time on my hand and relax a little bit. And last Wednesday I attended the Cathedral City Council, and I asked them about Varner Road. I told them about the $100 I had to spend to fix my wife's tire. You know, they were very concerned, and I don't know who it is, they didn't tell me, but they said that there's a committee on Varner Road, and 2 members of our council are on that committee to study that. You are? Who else?
There's only one of us.
Just one, okay. Well, they were stretching it then. People like to do that. Anyway, I am very interested in Varner Road, and I think that we should have a good say-so on it because we have so many residents that drive on there every day. My mother-in-law, who's 93 years old, drives on there when she goes to Eisenhower to see her doctors, and she doesn't need any flat tires. And so I want to thank our council for having an interest in Varner Road and keeping our own citizens safe. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Chris Gomez.
Good evening,
Gomez.
Council. My name is Christopher Gomez. I'm a 17-year resident of Desert Hot Springs and a lifetime resident of this Coachella Valley. I appreciate you taking the time to hear me. I'll be brief. It's just we're petitioning the city. I have some signatures here, a lot of signatures here for a volleyball court at one of our parks. We have a lot of people that like to play. The signatures that we got is from like 55 signatures, and it was a church service and a trip to Stater Brothers. So if we were to actually like really do it, I'm sure we'd get a lot of people that would like it. Unfortunately, we have to drive if we want to play volleyball, like to Yucca Valley, Cathedral City, etc., Palm Springs. So if we were able to find something here, you know, when we had picnics and, you know, with our children and whatnot, we would have a little bit more to do and stuff for the kids and everything. And that's basically it. You know, if we could just find it somehow to have a volleyball court put in one of our beautiful parks that we have here in the city would be a great thing. I appreciate you guys hearing me and considering this.
Thank you, Mr. Gomez. You can leave that with the city clerk right there if you like. Thank you very much. Elliot Lou Griffin.
Hi, how's it going? I'm Elliot Lou Griffin, and first of all, I would like to say thank you for letting me speak so quickly. And
You're kind of a tall guy. If you can pull it, mic. There you go. Perfect. Thank you. We can hear you better.
alrighty, well, sometime before May 24th, 2003, I'm walking by the grocery outlet back to my mobile home park, and 2 of your officers put the car in drive on me, threatening to run me over. That was the first incident. The second incident was I'm driving right here on Pearson. I'm stopped at the light. The officer comes up behind me. 2 cars turn. I'm on a red light. I'm gonna wait till get his attention.
Sorry.
I'm stopped right here on Pearson. Here comes the officer behind me. 2 cars turn. I make a right after him. The officer pulled me over, thinking the officer pulled me over on a red light. This is the same officer threatened to run me over. His name is Officer Ramirez of the Desert Hot Springs Police Department. I talked to Doria Williams about it. I talked to her assistant about it. Both of them right there already. On May 24th, 2023, your officer stopped me right there on the 1st Street and assaulted me. Beat me up. I talked to them. They saw the video. It's been going on for quite some time. After that, May 24th, the same officer, Officer Ramirez, followed me around the city multiple times, 3 times at least. He just followed me again February 2nd, 2024 at 9 o'clock in the morning. He just saw me at Arco, couldn't leave me alone. Here he comes again, same officer. I asked that he be sent, that the officer be sent to the prosecutor's office, that they see the videotape, that they, prosecute the officer, that they do something about it. I talked to the police chief several times about the incident. The last time he just laughed at me. I've been trying to call your office several times, and according to Emily Pearson, she said that you will not help me. That's what Emily Pearson told me personally. She said that the city of Desert Hot Springs will not help me. And then so I'm here today to see if the city of Desert Hot Springs is going to help me. That's my question.
We, by law, can't have a back and forth with you. You can leave your comments there at the end of your comment period, and if the council chooses to respond during their comments, we will do that.
And then, I heard that you have a 2/3 vote on whether or not you want to hear the issue.
Well,
And
we
I
already
was
heard,
wondering,
you have your 3 minutes, and you still have a minute, and a half. So you can speak as up
oh,
to
well,
the
your
3 minutes.
officer, I reported to Doria Williams, I reported it to the assistant, I reported it to everybody. If I got a minute and a half, then hey, it took me 8 months to get here, it seems like. And I'm hoping that the city does something about that. I'm pretty sure they're aware of their officers. I made several complaints to the chief of police about this. And again, 2 officers threatened to run me over. That was the first incident. This is not a game. Like I'm walking back by myself in the middle of the night and they threatened to run me over. And then the same officer that catch me, and I swear he just, like next time I get you, I'm gonna beat you up. Next time the officer saw me on May 24th, 2023, he beat me up. Please do something about it. I don't know if you guys are gonna talk about it. I don't know what's going on. Again, I asked Doria Williams, you could talk about it. I believe she saw the video. So please help me out. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Our next speaker is going to be Martin, and Martin, your last name is? Carrion. Okay, thank you.
This is a recommendation that I'll give you some background on myself. I was Employee of the Year of California Schools Employees Association. I negotiated 2 labor contracts. I was chief negotiator for those 2 labor contracts. I also had parity pay back there. I also worked for Sony for almost 30 years. Now, the recommendation I'm giving to the council is that there's a lot of lithium batteries out there, and my training as taking care of a data center and also having a C10 electrical license, that we have A, B, and C, but not D. D is the only one that puts out lithium batteries. And I think that the city of Desert Hot Springs should take the lead on this, because I walked through this whole Riverside County, and I do not see that fire extinguisher in existence. And I really think that you need to consider that with all these batteries and lithium cars and stuff. That's the only solution to put those fires out. You can't put water on them because it's an oxidizer. So my only recommendation is that you guys need to research that and talk to CAL FIRE about that, because Los Angeles County had that requirement. And also, too, I noticed that there's an international, for the chemicals at the buildings, that we have an old standard. There's an international now codes being utilized because we have so many foreign companies doing business in the United States that there is a new standard is being applied, and I learned that about a year and a half ago. And that's just recommendations I think the city of Desert Hot Springs should look into, and I think that the CAL FIRE should look into that, because I mentioned it to them to research this further. And then another one is an incident that happened with a squad car. I was walking down near the sushi restaurant down here in Palm, and a struggle must have broke out in that squad car. And A. Acosta crawled out of that thing. This happened about 6:10 in the evening and hit another car. I was kind of concerned about that, but also A. Acosta evicted me from my apartment, so I didn't want to get into that. And that's further stuff is further agencies going to look into the matter of how they dealt with me, but that's a recommendation that a struggle did happen. It did T-bone that car, and A. Acosta crawled out of that vehicle, and there was definitely, he was going about 48 miles an hour when he hit that other vehicle in the front and landed in the car wash on the side. So you should look into that, because the safety of the citizens of this city, Desert Hot Springs, warrants their safety not to be jeopardized with their personal battles that the police department is having in that squad car. Thank you for listening.
Thank you for your comments. Tanisha Adams?
Hi, thank you for listening to me. My name is Tanisha Adams. I'm a wife, I'm a mom of 3, and I'm an artist. I've been a resident of Desert Hot Springs for the last 11 years, and I absolutely love it here. I am a self-taught artist, specifically face painter, and a pretty good one, if I do say so myself. These are my children here with some of my work on their face. A couple weeks ago, I was warned by a compliance officer not to operate without a business license. For the last 2 weeks, I have struggled to obtain a business license because I do not own a home, and my landlord will not allow me to use my apartment address for my business purposes. I do not get paid for my business that I do at my home practicing. I don't know what to do because I'm unable to get a home occupation permit. I want to bring kids and families of DHS joy through my art of face painting at Friday night on Pearson. And tonight I'm requesting the help of this council to make that possible. I would please need advice on what to do next in my situation with not being able to get a business license or obtain one to be able to move forward with the vendor's permit. I went other option with UPS, and I was told here in this office that I could not use the official UPS mailbox because it is considered an address, but they won't let me with this specific building. So I'm in a rut with not being a homeowner, nor can use the landlord that I've been, I asked the landlord and they won't let me because they use theirs, is what I was told. So as an artist, I'm in a rut. I don't know how to move forward with bringing business here for children here in this community, and just knowing how much joy I bring, I'm in a standstill to become legalized and doing it the right way. So if you could please help me in my circumstance. I don't know if there's any other people that are finding themselves in this situation. And that's all. Thank you.
Make sure you leave your information with the city clerk there. The city manager's office will be in touch with you.
Thank you.
Shamanika Boykins, is that correct? Was that close? That's correct. Hey. Shamika is the last call for public comments. If you're here to speak on public comments, please fill out a blue card and give it to the clerk. Thank you very much. Go ahead.
First, thank you for saying my name right. Ladies and gentlemen of the City Council, my name is Shamanika Boykins. I'm a therapist and a grief doula by trade. I'm also a holistic practitioner and a community service provider. I have lived in Desert Hot Springs for probably the last 3 years, but I've been a frequent visitor for about the last 6 years or so. I stand before you today not only as a member of the community, but also as a member of the community that is right now expanding tremendously. It's especially within the last 3 years that I've been here. As we all have observed, our population has expanded significantly in recent years, bringing with it a diversity of backgrounds and needs the enrichment of our community in countless ways. However, with this growth comes a responsibility to ensure that our city remains a welcoming and nurturing environment for all. One crucial aspect of fostering a thriving community is the provision of opportunities for artistic expression and family-oriented programming. Art has a unique ability to transcend barriers, foster creativity, and build bridges between individuals from all walks of life. By investing in cultural initiatives and recreational activities that cater to families, we not only enhance the quality of life for residents here, but also strengthen the bonds that unite us as a community. Yet, as we celebrate our achievements, we must also acknowledge the challenges that many of our fellow community members face. Mental health is an issue that touches us all directly or indirectly. And it's imperative that we prioritize the allocation of resources to support those in need. As a therapist specializing in grief work, I've witnessed firsthand the profound impact that the mental health struggles that people have, how they impact the individuals and their families. Our community must strive to be a place where people live empowered to seek help without fear of stigma and judgment. Now, as a therapist living in Desert Hot Springs, one thing that I did notice was the majority of the resources that you can get at least a little quicker are completely outside of our range. So a lot of the people that I see that in the grocery stores or on the streets and things like that, they need avenues and resources here in Desert Hot Springs. Being able to cultivate more arts as a modality for mental health is something that I've been seeing that has actually expanded and has actually birthed more great things than our traditional modalities of mental health. And I would love to see this council and the city of Desert Hot Springs actually put more money into the arts and mental health so that we can have that more locally here.
Appreciate it, your 3 minutes.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for your comments. That was the last card I had for public speaking on items not on the agenda. Would anybody else like to speak on items not on the agenda? Last call. All right, we'll close public comments this time. We'll move to the city manager's report. Mr. City Manager.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. Just a couple updates before I turn it over to Ms. Wilms. Just a couple things coming up on the agenda. Staff is working with DVD on our waste hauler on our franchise agreement. So that franchise agreement should be coming soon in a future meeting over the next couple months. Also, too, I think an important meeting happened yesterday at the Water District in relationship to economic development in the cannabis industry, which is going to be the first step in the process of allowing the Water District to receive the discharge in the sewer system for cannabis waste. So that's a big thing as it relates to progress for cost and viability within the industry. So I think that was a big step. So I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Wilms now for some other updates.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor, City Council. First, I'd like to ask Roberta, our Recreation and Community Program Director, to provide general community updates on recreation and events in the city.
Yes. Good evening, Mayor, City Council. As many of you have noticed, the circus is in town. So Ventura Circus will be in Desert Hot Springs March 14th through March 31st in the Royal Emerald parking lot. They have shows 7 days a week, and you can buy tickets online at venturacircustickets.com. Our youth basketball league is starting up again at the Desert Hot Springs Recreation Center. This is a co-ed league for ages 7 to 16. The league starts April 8th and goes on to June 5th. Practices are on Mondays and Tuesdays, and games are on Wednesdays, and it's $50 for Desert Hot Springs residents. And you may sign up online on our website under the Sports League tab. And the Vietnam Veterans Memorial Moving Wall is coming to Desert Hot Springs. The wall will be on display at Mission Springs Park. The memorial will be open around the clock starting May 16th to May 20th. The memorial is open to the public and is free to attend. The opening ceremony will be held on Thursday, May 16th at 4 o'clock at Mission Springs Park. And finally, we are hiring lifeguards for the summer season at the Furby Aquatic Center. It's a fun summer job with great hours. All applicants must pass the Red Cross Lifeguard Certification course, which is free for them. And anyone interested can apply online on our website, and the pool will be opening on May 25th. Thank you.
Thank you, Roberta. Lastly, our Assistant City Manager, Daniel Porras, will give updates on where we're at with the road openings that we are eagerly anticipating following Tropical Storm Hillary.
Thank you, Doria. Yeah, the last two remaining crossings is the Indian Canyon crossing. That one is very, very close to completion. There was a couple of days of rain delay. There has been some rain events that were unforeseen. Those are scheduled to open to the public at mid-April, end of March still. We are estimating between one of those 2 weeks. And then Dillon Road crossing at Mission Creek, that one is still on schedule, no issues to report, and that one's scheduled to open by end of April. Thank you.
Thank you. We're glad to hear those are still on track as previously reported. So that concludes our updates.
Thank you. We're going to move to mayor and council member comments. I'll start with Mr. Betts.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First, just briefly, in response to the public comments and some sensitive issues there, all of our council members are available. If you would like to reach out, our cards are there in the lobby. If you want to grab one, I'm certainly welcome any calls from any constituents. And also, you'll find our phone numbers are online. I'd like to commend this council. We're very accessible. You'll find our phone numbers there. In some cities you won't. So please call if you have any issues that come up, whichever they may be, or whatever initiatives you want to bring forward. Now going on to the more wonky side of what we do up here. Attended the Southern California Association of Governments in Los Angeles, and there's something called the Regional Housing Needs Assessment, and there's been some developments in that. They weren't exactly happy in some parts of Southern California with the way those numbers shook out. We did well, but there's two measures going on now. Increased transparency measure, which would basically require the Housing and Community Development to put forth in advance what their methodology was for determining how many houses are needed. And the other one's interesting is trade and transfer, which would be cities who can't figure out how to build low-income housing, apparently, can now trade that housing to other cities that want to build it. Those conversations are still going, but interesting developments on that one. On the Transportation Committee, it's a big deal. It's a lot of words. We recommended the Regional Council approve the proposed final 2024 Regional Transportation Plan and Sustainable Community Strategy, and a bunch of other stuff. I won't go on too much more, but every year SCAG sets what the plan is for 10, 20 years hence, and that's what this is, renewing that, and then from there it all shakes down to the rest of us. Okay, attended Riverside County Transportation Commission, and that was interesting. I fill in for the mayor on there occasionally, and at this meeting they talked about Corridor ID federal designation for Coachella Valley Rail, and that's the train that would come down into the Coachella Valley. And apparently that's a big deal that we have gotten a federal designation, which means that the project doesn't need to be reauthorized every year. And in the meeting it was pointed out that's very significant detail, and it remains on the minds of everybody. CV Rail also overlaps with other rail projects that received the same federal authorization, so that creates funding connectivity, and which I think staff understands that's important. And that it's nice to see the support at Riverside County Transportation Commission for this project. You'll be able to get on the metro train and go up to LA. And our mayor's been serving up there quite a while. You were chair at one time, and Greg Pettis, I know, drove this issue, and I think, Mr. Mayor, you've done a good job of moving that one forward up there too. So there's progress being made. I was real happy to be able to fill in for you on that one. The Airport Land Use Commission, Not a lot went on. The only thing remotely close to our city was a proposal to construct 459 single-family homes and 375 multifamily residential condominiums with parking, landscaping, et cetera, on 157 acres, and that's in the city of Palm Springs. Typically, this commission will serve cities all over, and not many of them come close to us, but that one does. Attended the Cal Cities Riverside County Division Dinner. It used to be called League of California Cities. Now it's called Cal Cities. Went with the city manager. We attended in Corona. It was good attendance, and we had an update from RCTC, which happened to be the same thing I'd heard in the meeting before. I met with the council members in the past cities to discuss regional issues that are common with our city in the past. It's nice to get together with them, see what's going on. They're kind of feel like they're caught in the middle and left out. So I thought I'd get together. It was a nice time up there. Finally, and I just want to reiterate for the record with a brief statement on the hub. At the last council meeting, it was said that there was an expenditure of $629,230 that was authorized in a closed session meeting on May 2nd, 2023. And I reviewed the minutes of that meeting and the city attorney reporting out of that meeting. And to me, it's clear no such discussion took place regarding that expenditure, and that the approval of the minutes were subsequently approved in a later meeting, codifying that those amounts weren't covered. I have some concerns on this issue. Bring them up later, but right now that concludes my report, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Mr. Gardner?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just one meeting to report on this week, the Coachella Valley Mountains Conservancy. We met this past week, and some really good news. We awarded a substantial grant to the Coachella Valley Conservation Commission to develop a pilot program in conjunction with Desert Recreational District for a ranger corps for both to patrol the conservation lands that we have in our city and our trails that we have here in the city, as well as elsewhere in the valley. This is something that we've been wanting to work on for some time. They'll have limited police powers on conservation lands, but they'll augment the MOU that we have with the Desert Hot Springs Police Department already. I'm really excited about this. It's a first step in making sure that our conserved lands remain in good shape, and that starts down a path towards working on what we do with them in the future. We have been purchasing a lot of land for conservation. Now it's time to start figuring out what we want to do with them, make them accessible to the public, things like that long term, especially here in Desert Hot Springs. We will have a bounty of conserved land that all of us, the city, the Conservancy, the Conservation Commission, and our partners need to think about for the future for all of us to enjoy trails, parks, educational opportunities and stuff. But the first step, I think, is having that ranger patrol out there, and we should be starting to see some of that towards the end of this year, first of next year. Attended the opening day of our Desert Hot Springs Little League, which is always a great morning. Get to see the kids out there running around the bases in their bright new uniforms with brand new season ahead, especially the little T-ballers and stuff. Frank, I'm going to try to pronounce this right. Dora May, did I get it right? Thank you, Dora. A longtime Little League player who is sitting out this season as he undergoes a treatment for a brain tumor throughout the first pitch. And, you know, we're very, very lucky, very, very unique here. There's less than a handful of cities nationwide that actually sponsor and run Little League, and we're one of them. And it wouldn't happen without the tireless dedication of many of our city staff, from the mayor on down, the deputy city manager, our public works director, all of our staff who volunteer their time to make sure that our kids here in Desert Hot Springs have a great Little League season. And for that, I personally, and I'm sure the entire community, owes you all a debt of thanks and gratitude for everything you do for these kids. And we're kicking off the season, so I'll end it with just by saying, play ball.
Awesome. Mayor Pro Tem Pai?
I just have something short. When you come to do public comments, as the mayor said, we cannot talk to you at that time. And the purpose is we cannot create a new agenda. If we create a new agenda because you stepped up and said something that's not on our agenda, by law, we cannot go back and forth with you. And that is why council member, if they choose to, will say something once we have public comments, but we still can't go back and forth. Also, with things regarding public safety, there is a public safety commission for which sometimes they will contribute back and forth, just a little, maybe, because it's a different arena. And that ends my comments.
Thank you. Mr. Nunez?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a few things. On March 7th, the mayor and I did a 2x2 with the College of the Desert trustees. So basically what that means is we get 2 council members and 2 board of trustees from College of the Desert, and we basically meet about issues that we see in the city, and also they talk about the issues they have with the College of the Desert. I think that meeting went really, really well. The mayor represented the city very, very well, and he was pretty adamant that we want to see more in our city with College of the Desert. He has my full support. Whatever we need to do to make this happen. The College of the Desert did say they will look into putting some programs into the city, moving on to the future. We just don't know how or when. So I'm looking forward to meeting again with those meetings with the president and the board of trustees. On March 15th, met here with the city manager and a person that's interested in bringing broadband to the city and also some EV charging stations. So we'll keep you abreasted about what's going on, and hopefully we can get things really moving in the city on broadband and bringing more EV charging stations. Yesterday we had the opportunity to join our 4th District Board of Supervisor, Manuel Perez, in his State of the County address. I only stayed for a short time, but I heard our mayor gave a presentation. Looking forward to see that. Mr. Mayor didn't get a chance to stay very long, so I do apologize. Also, I attended the Coachella Valley Women's Rising event, Roboso, at Spotlight 29 just past Saturday. This is a women's event that contributes a lot of culture, especially in my culture. So I think that's something that we want to see valley-wide, and I think we can talk about that more as time comes by. I see Irene in the audience, so I'll be more than happy to have that conversation with Irene. Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. That's all I have.
Thank you, and I'll try to be brief also. 2x2 with COD was a really good meeting, and it means that you collaborate with 2 council members and 2 members of the board, along with our city manager and the president of the college. And thank you for the kudos, but we were good cop, bad cop that day, and I think 1 minute I was good, you were bad, next minute you were good, I was bad. We put a lot of pressure on, and it was a good working partnership to the college because of the services that lack in our community. We've had an advocate on the board for almost 4 years now, and she's tried her hardest, but she doesn't have a majority. And so that's always a challenge when it comes to that. We do have a campus here, and a lot of people don't know that. It's stuck behind the Alternative Education Center. It's a very small campus with a couple classes, and so I believe they heard us. So we'll continue to push and see what we can do to bring more of those college classes closer to home so you don't have to travel so far. If you're really excited to see fashion, you can go on to my Facebook, and you can see that I supported the Desert Hot Springs Women's Club fundraiser, and I'm a gray, blue, and black kind of guy, as you see what I usually wear, and my wife helped pick out the first outfit that I fashioned, that I modeled for the women's club, and it was pink. So if you're out to look for a good laugh, it was for a great cause. Our Women's Club of Desert Hot Springs does a fashion show each year, and this is the second time I've been asked in the last 4 years to participate, and the different models from the community that come out and model clothing. Not exactly my style, but I tried my hardest. So, but for a good cause, if you ever want to support an organization, they give over $20,000 back each year to scholarships to our community for kids going to college and universities. So it was for a great cause. I was invited to the Lily of the Valley Church here in Desert Hot Springs for their 65th anniversary. 5 years ago, I was there to celebrate 60 years with them, and this year, 65. And so on Sunday, they invited me to speak at their church, and it was a full service. And my wife's been ill with some surgery and wasn't able to go, but she would have loved it because she would have danced around with the church. I'm a little more conservative, but I had a great time. Pastor Johnson invited me. I was able to say some words for the community and on behalf of the city council on our faith-based organizations and what they bring to our communities. So I wanted to thank them. They gave me a lifetime membership to their church. I think that was more trying to get me to come to church. But I hung that in my office if anybody would like to see it. As spoken about, Little League is underway. It's a huge passion of mine, youth sports. This is the beginning of the Little League season, so if you're bored and ever on a Saturday, please feel free, or even during the weeknights, you can come up and see Little League games going on at Ormond Park. I was honored to be asked by Supervisor Perez to say a few words on behalf of community service. So this was the first state of the fourth district for Riverside County. Usually what happens is they do one state of the county, and whoever's the chairperson of the supervisors handles that event. This year they did it a little differently. They're doing these events in each of the districts. So this was the first inaugural state of the fourth district, and the supervisor was able to give some updates on what's going on. He had different individuals come and talk about different segments, and mine was community service. I was told many times that 3 minutes was my limit. I know how hard it is to hold people to their comments under 3 minutes. Not unfortunately, some of the other individuals didn't hold their 3 minutes and they went a little bit long. I held my 3 minutes, but if you want to see it, it's not a long video, it's 3 minutes. So I talked a little bit about community service and our partnerships with the county, but I wanted to thank the supervisor again for allowing me to say a few words on behalf of the elected officials here in the Coachella Valley and how we have a great partnership with the county supervisor's office here in Desert Hot Springs. The public comments tonight, Mr. Griffin, I understand your concerns, and there's a process to certain things, and I'm not sure why I didn't meet with you to begin with, but I'd be happy to meet with you. But going back to the city manager's office, and maybe they can give you a little more direction on the process. It doesn't stop there. There's other processes where you can file claims and other things. So feel free to go back to that office and talk with the city manager's office. I'm sure they could try to help you with that, and if not, more than welcome to make an appointment with my office. Ms. Boykins, it was great to see what you're bringing to our community, and Roberta Cernick there, she runs a lot of our art programs here in our community, so maybe you can touch base with her eventually, and if you haven't already, and a lot of other groups. So feel free to leave your information with the city manager's office. Who knows where you can fit in here, but there's plenty of room, so I'd be happy to have you. And then lastly, not terrible at this stuff, but Brian DeStandy was a great person. He unfortunately passed away unexpectedly at 60 years old. The reason I bring him up, and I went to his celebration of life today, is he served as assemblyman for the state of California for 6 years. He wasn't our assembly district, but he bordered our district at that time. And Manny Perez, our county supervisor, and him started as the on the assembly at the same time. And they became friends, Brian being a Republican and Manny being a Democrat. They worked together bipartisanly, and they crossed the aisle many times, both of them did, to find solutions for the Coachella Valley. Brian also serves as chief of staff for Sonny Bono and Mary Bono. He's been a political consultant for a long time, and he also was the county administrator and deputy administrator for many years. He had a long history here. Unfortunately, he passed too soon, and today we remembered him in a celebration of life. And the reason I bring him up here is not only because he served as assemblyman and did help issues within Desert Hot Springs, but he also served Desert Hot Springs in many ways through the Coachella Valley by advocating for our needs here in our community. So with that said, I think it's respectful enough to take a moment of silence for him and what he did for our city. Thank you, I appreciate that. And his wife, Gina DeStandy, serves on the city council in Palm Desert, and we've sent our condolences to her. All right, we'll end with that, and we'll move to the administrative calendar. And we'll start with item number 1, which is the animal hospital veterinary operation. Ms. Wilms.
Thank you. Excuse me, Mayor, City Council. On November 7th of 2023, the City of Desert Hot Springs acquired the animal hospital located at 13700 Palm Drive, along with the animal sanctuary located at 17825 North Indian Canyon, from the Humane Society of the Desert. On November 30th of 2023, the city then released a request for interest for veterinary services to identify a suitable partner to provide high quality and affordable veterinary services for the community and the city's animal care and control department for the animal hospital. The city received 2 proposals in response to the RFI, one from Animal Samaritans and another from a prospective operator who formally withdrew their proposal last Monday on March 11th. Since the submittal of the RFI, staff has reviewed and negotiated the following best and final conditions with Animal Samaritans to operate the hospital while providing that high-quality, affordable veterinary services to the community. So just a broad overview of the clinical services they are proposing to provide. So general practice, where they would provide diagnosis, health exams of eyes, ears, nose, mouth, and skin, blood work, fecal and urine analysis, tissue samples, x-rays, ultrasound, dental assessments, diet assessments, etc. They would also have treatment there, health diagnoses and treatment plans, prescriptions of medications, vaccines, microchipping, hygiene services. They'd also provided urgent care, which would include same-day or next-day exams, diagnoses and treatment, and triage care for serious injury or illness. Surgical care is also something that they would provide there, and that's surgical for non-spay or neuter type of services. So that would potentially include mass removals, laceration repairs, oral or dental surgery. Of course, there would be spay and neuter options there as well. Public spay and neuter for the City of Desert Hot Springs animal care and control animals in our care, but also grant-funded spay and neuter clinics for the community. There's also special programs that they are proposing, which would include grant-funded financial aid opportunities for local income qualifying residents for that really affordable care for the pets, which is really needed in the community. They are proposing to operate Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. With a pretty large contingent of clinical staffing, which would include a general practice doctor of veterinary medicine, 3 vet techs, 1 urgent care DVM, 1 registered vet tech, and 3 veterinary technicians, 1 spay and neuter DVM with another vet tech and 3 veterinary technicians, a clinical manager, 2 clinical receptionists, and a clinical scheduler on staff there. The details of the proposal that's before you includes the what I'll propose as the best and final offer from Animal Samaritans. So what Animal Samaritans would be wanting to do is have the opportunity to move forward as the operator for the animal hospital with the ability to purchase the animal hospital from the city for $1 as soon as possible, but no later than June 15th of this year. In turn, upon opening the clinic, Animal Samaritans would provide discounted spay-neuter veterinary services to the city over a period in which these services equal the appraised value of the animal hospital at the time of its sale. So it wouldn't in fact be for $1, it would basically be for trade of service for our animal care and control animals in our care and the services that we do provide. Additionally, Animal Samaritans would continue providing the city discounted services even after the value of discounted services is equal to and exceeds the value of the vet clinic at the time of its sale. As part of this acquisition and to protect the city's interests, the city, as part of our negotiation, would require first right of refusal to acquire the property back should Animal Samaritans decide to dispose of the animal hospital at a date in the future. They're also asking that in the interim, before they actually purchase, that the city carry property insurance for the animal hospital while we are in ownership of the property. that we provide all building inspection reports and would resolve any problems that may be there on site prior to them taking ownership. Prior to final agreement, we would present any restrictions or prohibitions on any building improvements. They are mandating that we would not restrict or mandate their business hours, nor mandate, influence, or impede their hiring processes. And also wanting our assistance to promote the opening of the clinic, which has been a long time coming. So in closing, what we're asking tonight is for the City Council to authorize the city manager to negotiate and execute all necessary agreements consistent with the conditions that were presented tonight with Animal Samaritans for the operation of the animal hospital, including the acquisition that is located at 13700 Palm Drive, Desert Hot Springs, California, 92240. Animal Samaritans is here tonight and available to answer any questions, and that concludes my staff report.
I appreciate that. First, we'll take public comments. Anyone wanting to make public comments on this item before we go to council member questions or comments? I see nobody coming forth. I will close public comments at this time, and I'll move to city council comments. I have one in the queue. Mr. Betts? I'm sorry.
Yes, thanks. So this sounds like a very good day for Desert Hot Springs. I want to congratulate staff for pulling this one together. I think it's also a good day for our budget on a couple of fronts. Proposals that were talked about before were quite costly. And in looking at those, if everyone wants to go back and look at the record, I was opposed to moving forward with this project due to those costs. But how can you argue with this one? You guys have done a great job. Somebody in the audience may be concerned that we're selling a very valuable building for $1, but I believe we acquired that building for less than that, so we're making $1 profit. And the intent of the city is not to profit on a building, but to get these much-needed services to our community. There was a matter of property tax that was in arrears. Did we pay that?
Yes, that was approved. That was part of the conditions. Yes, it's paid.
Okay, so we paid $67,000 in property tax.
Correct.
And the first right of refusal on the purchase of the building, there was a deal with the Attorney General that it always must stay as a nonprofit in the way we wrestled the ownership of that building. Would they be bound by that if we just gave it to them?
So there would be, in fact, a process for this transfer that we would have to go through with the AG and the DOJ. That's a normal process because the hospital's considered a charitable asset. That hospital was donated to the Humane Society. So we would have to go through that same process with the AG and the DOJ just so they could ensure that it is still going to be used in the intended manner that it was when it was initially donated.
Okay, so this deal that we're talking about today is contingent on AG giving it a seal of approval?
It is. It's a pretty straightforward process, but yes, it is.
Okay. And the other benefit to the city, I understand, is for the appraised value or trading services. You're talking about the city always has expenses at animal hospitals and shelters to deal with animals that we have in our care and control. And so we will be trading those, and we will be basically reducing a significant line item on our budget. So we're not also giving that away.
That is correct.
Okay, great deal. I want to congratulate you again. Good job putting that one together.
Mr. Nunez?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Few questions. So I really didn't see much on the sanctuary here, how that's going to be run, if they're going to have staff over there, or if it's going to be continued to be ran by volunteers. Improvements of the sanctuary, if they decide to do improvements, do they have to come to us and get those improvements approved? Lastly, the annexation of the sanctuary, are we still going to move forward with the annexation and that process? And I have a couple more.
So with respect to the sanctuary, that is not part of this item. So the sanctuary would not, Animal Samaritans is not being proposed to have anything to do with the sanctuary. So this is specifically for the operation of the animal hospital. But to answer your question, Councilmember Nunez, the sanctuary has been brought over. It is no longer quote unquote a sanctuary, although all the animals in that we took on when we took that in will be able to live the rest of their life out there. It is now an extension of our animal care and control. And so we are utilizing it as such, and we have staffing that is covering all of those needs over there at that time. So at this time and into the future.
Mr. Mayor, point of order that we wouldn't maybe beyond what the conversation we just had, get into further conversation on the sanctuary. I understand that's going to come back as a separate agenda item, correct?
It's not part of this at all.
Okay, great, thank you.
And then lastly, the only thing I have is, if we can make sure that whatever decision is made tonight, that we have community events that have to do with the animal hospital and animal Samaritans, if they're going to do highly publicized. We have events there, and our residents don't have to go to Thousand Palms for those events. So, thank you.
And I know that they're both here, so that can specifically be addressed by them if you all would like to do that.
Thank you, Doria.
Mr. Gardner?
No, I just wanted to say that this has been a long time coming, that the events around that animal hospital, the unfortunate events around that animal hospital years ago have caused that to sit there vacant and boarded up for many, many years. And as a dog owner and a dog lover, and anybody who knows me knows that every dog on the street I have to stop and pet. Just my nature. This is a fantastic opportunity, and our residents have been asking for this for some time. I sit around the dog park with Luna, and it's like, when is the vet hospital opening? When is the vet hospital opening? This week, I can say it's on our agenda. So I'm not sure, maybe the Animal Samaritan guys can let us know, but do you have a projected date of when they're going to be operational? And I would love to have a big event there, like Councilmember Nunez says. We can have adoption events. We can do a lot of things. So I see you coming forth.
Yes.
So
I feel like I've been summoned. Well, I just want to mention our excitement to be partnering with the city. It has been a long time coming. I've been talking to Doria and other members of the city council for, I don't know how long it's been, but it seems like 2 years or so. So we're glad to see it happen too. We are good at what we do, and we look forward to providing high quality, affordable vet services with that financial aid opportunities to residents of the community. There was a question about the question was, when do we think we will open?
And I won't hold you to it, but maybe a ballpark.
No. We do have a basic timeline, and so our goal is to get into that facility and provide a full menu of services starting in September of this year. And so it's predicated, of course, I think I may have mentioned this before if I was able to speak before, but our biggest barrier is hiring veterinarians. And a lot of people know there's a nationwide shortage, but we are on a good track. We're actually making an offer to one doctor this week to add to our staff. So that's what we need to do. We need to add some doctors and then the support staff to go with them. That's the biggest barrier. There's a few other things with equipment upgrades. The buildings, the bones of it are in pretty good shape. There's just a few things that we need to do with the floors and things like that. But September 1-ish is our goal.
Okay. We welcome you to the community. You've done a lot in the community in the past, and it's going to be great to have you as a partner here for those of us that have our animals and need to have them cared for. It's a shame what happened to that hospital in the past, and I remember we went through there a year ago, 2 years ago. I can't remember when it was, but you're right, it was some time ago. But it was like they just locked the door and walked away, and it was a brand new animal hospital, and there's dust and a few cobwebs, but I'm excited to see you opening up. So this has been something that I've been advocating for some time. I'm very supportive of, and can't wait to see it open up. So welcome.
All right, thank you.
Ms. Pye?
Any other questions for me?
I don't have any questions for you.
Okay.
Don't go far. You never know. Just
No, I'm going to ask you questions. This thing about problems, issues that we'll cover, about how much is that? Is it over 100,000?
So
Okay.
I don't anticipate that. So we've provided them with the first round of inspection reports already. I don't anticipate there being anything that's going to be of massive magnitude, but there could be something unforeseen. So I don't want to speak out of turn and guarantee it. But if there is any very large expenses, that's something obviously we would talk to the council about before proceeding with anything.
Okay, and one other question. How long, everything's perfect, how long are you planning for this contract to be?
So what I really anticipate happening is that we would enter into an initial agreement to have them as an operator, and then at the same time start working on that purchase and sale agreement. As mentioned in the proposal, they want and need to acquire this property by the middle of June. And so we would want to have all of that finalized, which is why we're asking for the council to authorize the city manager to negotiate and execute all of that so that can happen in a very expeditious fashion.
Thank you.
I just have one question, but before I do that, Tom, I was very disappointed you didn't come up with some furry animal. I watch you on KESQ at least once a week with animals, and I was expecting one to come through the door, but maybe it's our policy, I don't know. I'm excited about this transaction. We've been talking about it for years now to get this hospital back up and running. There was obviously a lot of legal issues with the past operator and owner of that facility, and those things had to be taken care of, and it was a longer road than I think most of us thought. The only question I had, and maybe it's buried in the contract, is if for some reason Animal Samaritans decided not to run the facility anymore, the city would have a right to take that back under whatever agreement, in that agreement?
Yes, so we would make sure that that is built into the agreement. We would have first right of refusal to have that property back in our possession.
I don't foresee that at all, with how fast you guys are growing and the good work you're doing, but you never know, and want to make sure that we can keep that in operation as an animal hospital and facility for years to come. It's some of the biggest questions, probably one of the biggest questions we all get all the time when we're out and about. When's that thing going to open again? So we're excited about this. That's all the questions I have. So no further questions, and I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to ask one more question and then make a motion. So this is going to come back to us after you set forth the terms and conditions, or is it?
This would be it. So what's before you is to authorize the city manager to negotiate and execute all necessary agreements, including the purchase and sale agreement.
Okay, so any significant changes other than what has been, as presented here would come back to us, otherwise it moves forward, right? Okay, good. Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to authorize the city manager to negotiate and execute all agreements consistent with the conditions set forth in the staff report with Animal Samaritans for the animal hospital located at 13700 Palm Drive, Desert Hot Springs, and specifying as the conditions laid out.
If you can push move on the screen. There's a second by Mr. Gardner. He'll push second on the screen. Any further discussion? Please vote.
Motion passes unanimously.
Congratulations.
Thank you and welcome. All right, we're going to move. I moved item 4 from the consent calendar up, and we're going to discuss that next. That is the award of construction agreement for Fire Station number 98, City Project number 8004. Our Public Works Director, Mr. Haker, is going to give a report. Also, there's a supplemental report on the dais as alluded to at the beginning of the meeting. And there are copies available to anyone in the back.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. On January 11th, 2024, the City of Desert Hot Springs issued a notice of inviting bids for construction of Fire Station 98, City Project number 8004. The notice of inviting bids was posted on both the city website and with Planet Repo Graphics. The city issued 2 addendums. On February 22nd, 2024, the city received 5 bid packets. Oakview Constructors, Inc. was the lowest responsive qualified bidder. However, there was no acknowledgement of the 2 addendums in Oakview's bid packet and was deemed unresponsive. Robert Clapper Construction Services, Inc. was the second lowest apparent bidder with the acknowledgements of the 2 addendums. On Thursday, March 14th, 2024, the City of Desert Hot Springs publicly posted Tuesday, March 19th, 2024 City Council agenda. Within this agenda is the recommendation to award the construction agreement to Robert Clapper Construction Services, Inc. On Monday, March 18th, 2024, the City of Desert Hot Springs received a letter of protest and objection from Oakview Construction. Oakview believes their bid was responsive to the request for the bids and that there is no reason for the city to reject Oakview's bid. After review of the city's contract documents, specifications, and construction plans for Fire Station 98, staff found that the submittal of acknowledgement of addendums within their bid packet was not clearly stated as required to be deemed a responsive qualified bidder. With this information, staff is amending the original recommendation accepting Oakview Constructors, Inc. bid packet as complete and responsive, and deem Oakview Constructors, Inc. as the lowest responsive qualified bidder. The amended staff recommendations are to award the construction agreement for Fire Station 98, City Project Number 8004, to the lowest responsive qualified bidder, Oakview Constructors, Inc., and authorize the city manager to draft and execute the construction agreement for Fire Station 98, City Project Number 8004 with Oakview Constructors, Inc. in the amount not to exceed $8,052,000 and a 10% contingency of $805,200, bringing the total amount for to $8,857,200, and approve the total project budget in the amount of $9,437,200 for additional project expenses for construction management, furniture, fixtures, and equipment. That concludes my report.
Thank you very much. Before we get into the conversation with City Council, we do have public comments. I have 2 public comment cards. You do not have to fill out public comment cards for this. You can come forth, but I'll start with the 2 that did. John Field.
Good evening, council members. Thank you very much. I'm John Field with Oakview Constructors. I'm here with my colleagues, and we just want to tell everybody and assure everyone our bid is responsive, complete, and accurate. We'll do a good job. We've spent a lot of time on this job working on it. We're doing jobs very, very similar to this right now. We've worked with that architect often, and really glad to save the city $500,000. So I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next speaker is Ken Coate.
Hi, it's funny I brought your agenda up, like I'm going to read that to you. But so I've handled the bonding for Oakview for over 30 years, and it's important to understand the history of what a surety does. Is we guarantee all their payments and their performance on all their work. They're very complete about what they do with the specs. Were not clear about how you would identify the addendums. It says by turning this in, you're acknowledging that, and so we followed what the wording was. And there's a problem here with we did what the specs said, and we're okay with the bid spread of $500,000. You could build a lot of volleyball courts with $500,000. I mean, I know it's a different pool of money, but the point is, our bid is good. The specs were a little unclear, and I understand staff has made the recommendation. We're responding to the original recommendation, and we came out to make sure everybody was comfortable with us. And we're here to stand behind our bid and to guarantee the contract, make sure that you guys are comfortable with what, if you have any concerns, this is the time to talk about it, but we have no concerns on our end. That's it. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else like to speak on this item? Please come forth one at a time. Just state your name and your 3 minutes will begin.
My name is Martin Carrion. I dealt with an emergency issue with a Northridge earthquake, and I'd like to see the city also talk with the state or the supervisors as you're building this facility here, that there's no helipad landing facilities on this side of the freeway. And I kind of tether on that because I worked at a hospital in San Luis Obispo, and we were in charge of handling the helicopters coming in. And if you have an event where a seismic was to hit, you would like to have at least a safe out for this area. And since you have money coming in there, and it consists of basically a helipad, and it should be considered, because if you don't, especially as isolated that area is, it could really be an asset for the whole county and also for Desert Hot Springs. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next speaker, please.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council, staff. My name is Matthew Kraus, and I am legal counsel for RC Construction with with a local law firm in town called Lester, Cantrell and Krause. I'm here to address the city's recommendation to award the project to the Oak View team. And the reason why I'm here is really to let the city council know RC protests that recommendation. And the reason for that is this. What's more important than $500,000, which is the spread that Oak View just pointed out to the city council? It's integrity in the bidding process. What the safeguards need to be in place is to make sure everybody's on a level playing field. And what the problem with the bid is, and as I've heard city staff say, and I also heard representatives from Oakview say, is that there was something unclear in the specifications that created confusion in what should have been submitted. It's our position that it was clear that bidders should have acknowledged changes to the bid package, because when there's addenda, the project design changes, and the bidders need to acknowledge that change so everybody knows we're all on the same page. That didn't happen with Oakview, and that provided an opportunity for Oakview to say it wasn't aware of the addenda and to withdraw its bid and to not waive its bid bond. Now, it hasn't done that, it wants the job, but the opportunity for it to withdraw its bid and to say there was a mistake, didn't know the addenda was required, was there. And that creates an unlevel playing field and an unfair advantage that California law says shouldn't be waived. So we really ask the city to go back to its original recommendation and to award the project to RC Construction. Some people might say, well, who's RC Construction? They're the fine contractors that built the building we're actually standing in today. They built City Hall. They've built many fire departments throughout Southern California. They've worked closely with the architect the city hired for this project. And it's important for RC to have an opportunity to know, just like all the other bidders in the public needs to know, that the city's applying the rules clearly, the bids are clear, everybody's on the same page, it's a level playing field, and that there's integrity in the bid process. And so if the city's not inclined to go back to its original intent, which is to award the job to RC, we'd ask the city to rebid the project and to clarify the bid documents so that everybody knows what's expected, everybody's on the same page, there's no ambiguity, there's no lack of clarity, which is what we've heard from city staff and Oakview when they describe the bid documents. And that way we all know that we're going forward in the right way with public confidence. With that said, I'd ask the city to also review my bid protest letter I submitted prior to the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other speakers? All right, we'll close public comments this time. We'll go to city council. Let's see what we got here. I'm sure we've got somebody in the queue. It was working a minute ago, but not working now. Who wants, Mr. Gardner?
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you to both of our bidders and our staff. I'm very sensitive to your comments about the integrity of the bidding process, and I'm inclined to agree with those. I want to ask a quick question, either of our legal counsel or our city manager. Assuming we were to go through the process of reopening the bids and having everybody rebid, what would be the timeline? What would be the quickest that could possibly happen?
Yeah, it would be 2 months.
And we've been sitting on this project for longer than the animal hospital, for quite a long time. But you're confident that we could do that in a 2-month process, because I recognize the validity of both of our contractors and their arguments. You submitted everything you thought was correct, and due to an unforeseen error, either on your part or our staff's part, you didn't provide one document. You provided all the documents and got everything in on time. The clerical error resulted in yours being disqualified and yours being granted. And then we find, oh, we made a clerical error. Yikes, we better go back. I don't know how equitable that is to just go, oh, we made an error, these guys didn't realize we made an error, we're gonna go with their bid, much as I love to save $500,000, make a few volleyball courts. But in the sense of equity and fairness, I'm inclined to go back to see if we can reopen, just resubmit the bid process again and reevaluate everything so that everybody's on the same page.
So if I could, respond to that, the error was not having that requirement in the document, okay? So the submissions were consistent to the document. So in talking with legal counsel, we didn't disqualify anybody on discretion, okay? So that, where we're sitting today, it is appropriate to award it, but we understand where the council would be if you so choose.
So I think, integrity is something that I feel very, very strongly about, and I don't want to have any cloud of uncertainty or conflict or disagreement with this. So it's going to be my suggestion that we have staff reopen this for another round of bids and just recomplete everything and hopefully get it done within 2 months so that we can get this thing moving. Thank you.
I'm assuming, Mr. Betts, you're reaching your mic, so.
Thank you. First off, I want to say that we can't litigate this from the dais, all right? And I don't have enough detail on what's taken place. I've had conversations with the city manager, got some briefing. We've got a lawyer now stepping up to the podium saying he's disagreeing with that, and I don't like to play lawyer, but in this instance, staff reviewed the bids and made recommendations, but I want to correct you, is that the original intent is not what staff says, but it's what the council decides up here at the dais. And all the way up to the point in that time that this meeting is called to order, as long as it's legally and properly noticed, our options are open, and we act on what staff recommendations are. And staff's recommendation is that they have reviewed it, gone back, they were contacted by another bidder, they looked at it, and now their recommendation to the city council is to go with what is considered the lowest responsible bidder. I've been in plenty of situations where the lowest responsible bidder was disqualified for some reason or another, but it wasn't just over simple paperwork matter. Anyhow, I don't want to get into too much of this to foster a lawsuit, but I think it's well within this council's prerogative to trust staff's recommendation. I don't think they took the change that they've made lightly, and it's our decision which way we go. This fire station has been needed on the east side of our city for a long time. Mr. Mayor, you've championed this for a long time. And you know the delays and you cited chapter and verse, how much longer it takes the fire equipment to get over to that side of the city where there are no, in my city, where my house is, they had a neighbor's car caught on fire at midnight, and it seemed like forever to get to me. It didn't turn out to be that long, but it seemed like it. And I'm thinking to myself, if that was going on over in Hacienda Heights, where the station's going to be located, I'm very comfortable with staff's recommendation and trusting that they got this right. They didn't just, say on a whim that they changed this. They've consulted with it legally, and unless they're willing to change their mind here for me, I'm going to go with what staff recommends.
Students, Ms. Pye, anything?
Can we have a bidding war right now, right here?
Ms. Pye, anything? No. I just want to make some comments. I think that Robert Clapper Construction, you guys realize there's a lot of integrity in our city. You've worked for our city, you've built a lot of things, there's a lot of integrity. So I understand the challenge, and I understand you're doing that for your company. I understand your concerns. I was briefed before this. Our staff feels very confident in fixing what was mostly just a I don't want to say typo, but it was something that wasn't listed on the initial package that everybody was fairly scored on the documents that were returned. $500,000 is a lot of money. To go back out for 2 more months puts people at risk, and Mr. Betts is exactly correct that this has been a project that I've championed for our fire department for a long time. It's not just Chief White wants to bring more staff here and put people to work, but he wants people to be safe in our community, and that fire station is so far overdue. To put it off even for two more months, I wouldn't do that. I feel confident that our staff and our legal staff has looked at this, and they feel confident that we're following all the parameters. And we're going to move forward. I would like us to move forward at this time. Usually the mayor does not make the motion, so I'll allow someone else to make the motion, but I am going to support this, and if you're all okay with it, I would love to make the motion.
I would think it'd be great since you've pushed for this for so long. That's the only reason I mentioned it.
I'd like to make a motion to the amended staff recommendation to award the project to Oakview Construction for the amount listed on the recommendation.
I'll second.
Hey, if there's no other comments, please vote.
Mr. Mayor, if I may.
Motion passes
I'm going
unanimously.
to support this in the sake of moving it forward. I recognize that we've been working on this for a long time. I am still concerned about the integrity aspect of this, and I'm going to hope that staff has fixed that problem so that we don't run into this in the future.
Point made. Thank you very much. Mr. Soriano, could you announce the vote one more time?
Yes, motion passes unanimously.
Thank you very much.
And as for Mr. Calderon's comment about helicopter pad, I believe we do have one next to our police station.
But not built for this fire, not planned for this fire station. All right, we're going to move to, thank you everyone that came in. You're more than welcome to hang out with us the rest of the night if you like, if you're bored. If not, you know. With that said, we're going to move to item number 2, which is the economic development. Our city manager, Mr. Lucchino.
Mr. Mayor, before we get started on this one, I got a question for you and the rest of the council. This item consists of downtown development. Not exactly sure what the dividing lines of that are, but also covers city image, Canada tourism, events that we would want to bring to the city, such as motorsports, housing issues, tourism, Palm Drive, all the way the whole length, logistics, small business retention and development, corporate franchise agreements, economic development strategies. There's a whole lot of stuff that I would like to participate on, except for one sticky wicket, which is the downtown development, if that means within 500 feet of my salon. So I would like it if the staff, if the council would agree to bifurcate this item, cover everything you need to cover on the downtown development, I'll leave, and then come back so I can participate in the rest of these very important subjects.
Well, let me ask this question. So as a downtown pertains as a overview general plan, it's the same concept as the citywide LMDs, anything like that. We've been advised that we could participate in those. So would that qualify and allow Mr. Betts to participate in the whole conversation, or would you still advise Mr. City Attorney for him to leave the room if we bifurcated this?
My advice is recusal is still appropriate here, and the difference is I believe Mr. Betts' wife has a business in downtown area.
That makes sense. So let me ask you, Mr. City Manager, would you like to bifurcate it and do the downtown stuff first with the remainder of the city council, or would you like to do an overview of the branding and everything up first and then have Mr. Betts recuse himself?
I could do either way. The culmination of that ultimately, though, is for the full council to vote on what your priorities are. So I could talk about both of them in separate items, but ultimately, at the end of the day, it would be about what your priorities are.
So when you come back to vote, Mr. Gartner, you'll be next. When you come back to vote, there will be a discussion on prioritizing. Would you feel comfortable to be able to recuse yourself from that at that point?
Yeah, my view is that, and I appreciate the attorney's opinion. We all seek that, and it's important to us. But my view is this is dealing with the entire city, and that it's citywide, as you mentioned. Just none of us want to get in trouble here with the FPPC on issues like this.
I just want you to know from my standpoint, I'm not holding back on the downtown because I'm really focused on that. So if any of that conversation makes you feel uncomfortable at any time, you would want to recuse yourself, we'd understand, I think.
I want to recuse from the discussion of the downtown development, but there's a whole bunch of separate issues here that are
Okay.
providing direction that I would like to participate in. So, Mr. Mayor,
Hold on, before you leave, Mr. Gardner has a comment, and then.
Well, maybe
you
I can help. We narrow the question down a little bit. As I see what's before us, we are giving advice to the city management team on what our vision is for economic development for the entire city. Downtown being just a component of that. And while Mr. Betts and his wife owned a salon, that normally, if we were acting on an item such as an LMD or a street widening or something that directly affected their property, he would have to recuse himself. Since we're having a discussion, we're not voting on a particular appropriation or ordinance or anything to that, but we're just giving advice to the city staff of what we as a council see should be the economic development vision for the entire city. I don't have a concern with Mr. Betts sitting through the whole part of the discussion, because as I see it, and if I'm wrong, Mr. City Attorney, correct me, but I don't see us voting on anything that has the direct impact on he and his wife's salon that would require a recusal. Now, whether he chooses to recuse on his own or his own, standards and ethics, that's up to him. But I don't think, in my head, I don't see a need to force it.
So if I could just be, without this going on too long, I'm seeing a scenario where the rest of the council will decide what they want to do with the downtown and give him the direction on that. And then I can come back in the room and participate in the rest of it. If the city council would indulge me in that, I'd be very comfortable with that. And is that okay with you, Mr. Mayor?
It's fine. It's. Are you asking for a vote tonight or consensus?
No, I'm asking for a vote. Sorry, thank you. The recommendation in the staff report is from a prioritization perspective.
Okay. That's all I need to know. And Mr. Betts, why don't you go ahead and do your recusal?
Okay, so I'm going to recuse on a portion of this item, which is the downtown development, which could mean within 500 feet of a hair salon that my wife and I own and that I have a financial interest in. And so, Mr. Mayor, with that, I will leave the dais with the hopes of coming back.
Actually, now thinking, how this comes together, probably be better for the second part of it to recuse yourself, because I have a preamble coming into here that's more holistic, that then I'll talk about downtown separately, if that's okay.
All right, when you get to that point, let us know so he can recuse
And if I hear
himself.
anybody talking about downtown, I'll just run for the door, okay?
Yeah.
Please don't run, walk.
All right, well, thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. So what's in front of you this evening from a staff recommendation perspective is to recommend, and again, I'm going to say downtown, but just the recommendation, just so the council is aware, of recommending economic development priorities for the coming city general fund budget to be the downtown development and city branding and imaging. Just by way of a little bit of background, and data here, if you look at the staff report, the city has a population approximately of 32,500 people. And in talking to a lot of developers, that really is a sweet spot. That's once you hit 30,000 plus, now we become on that radar screen more so than when we were below that. Our average household size is three folks in a house, and our average age, or our median age, is 33.1 years. Our median household income, just in comparison to what it is versus our surrounding communities, our median household income is $46,000 household income. Palm Springs, by way of comparison, is $67,000. And then just on the other side of us, Yucca Valley is $54,000. So it just gives a little perspective of kind of our median household income. We do have 10,300 people leaving our community every day to work somewhere else, and then 2,600 people coming into our city to work every day. That exodus of people at 10,300 is a significant number, especially when, from an economic development perspective, looking at those lunches and those activities that we all do during that daytime period. City jobs, and this data all comes from Cosmont. Cosmont is one of our economic development consultants that has compiled this data. City jobs are primarily in the healthcare, social assistance, accommodation, food service, and education. Residents working outside of the community are leaving to accommodations, food service, healthcare, social assistance, and retail trade sectors. Just to kind of run down a few things here, from background, and I know some of you attended the State of the County, and I thought very, germane topic by the CEO that I wanted to repeat, which is we as staff, as government, we can do anything. So whatever the council gives us policy direction on, we can do that. We just can't do everything. If you heard the CEO say that, and that was very germane to this topic, every one of these items that you'll hear this evening are important, but we're just looking for some focus to see what's the most important for you so we can really execute, because doing everything is challenging. As your new city manager, part of the process to build a 2-year budget is to have a strategic planning session with the council, and that will be done after this coming election. However, where we're at right now is entering the second year. So this item is helping us give guidance as we look at our adjustments that may be needed for economic development. Most economic development initiatives takes resources, and that's why we're having that conversation. Which is, again, why this item is in front of you. Some items which we'll talk about take just staff time, but let me run down through those with the exception of economic development. With the exception of downtown. Imaging, I think imaging, continue the imaging campaign for investors, from regional consumers, residents, and et cetera, which we do have a safe and fun community, but we need to tell that story. So we need to build on those opportunities, and that's connected to economic development. When people know that, they understand that, they come to our community to consume more often than current. And that needs investment. So that's why that becomes a question, and that's part of the top 2 priorities that staff is recommending. Cannabis, we talk a lot, we've done a lot. Canna tourism, consumption, made in DHS branding, expansion, all those items as it relates to economic development need investment. And that's, again, not to be redundant, but that's why that's in front of you. Events. We just finished, from the Coachella Valley perspective, the tennis tournament. We're coming up on Coachella, Stagecoach. What is and what can be a signature event in Desert Hot Springs to bring residents to our community that equal economic development. Maybe something that's different in the form of maybe not so much different, but music, art, UFC fighting, motorsports, or et cetera, that is outside of typical events we currently have, takes investment. Housing, interestingly, talking to the assistant city manager today, I think market conditions are driving this. I think this is naturally happening through supply and demand, and primarily, which we hear a lot of, which is the question always comes, does the city have power? And this is a lot of the questions that are, come from the East Valley and IID, the lack thereof. We're in Edison territory and we have the power. That question happens. So I think we're going to, and we are starting to see more and more housing being proposed and hopefully going through the entitlement process to ultimately build. So I think supply and demand is driving that. So I don't know if investment is needed to stimulate for economic development. Tourism, spa, hot springs, further to promote, enhance our marketing and awareness of the destination, and enhancement and development of our spas, and add quality inventory, more quality inventory to our marketplace. In part, we could still do that from a staff perspective as we, talk to potential investors and continue to do that. But also, too, we may need investment to continue that. We think Greater Palm Springs is doing a portion of that. We also have JNS doing another portion of that. So is that something from a priority perspective important to the council to do both? Palm Drive, I think, that's an exciting area, relatively untapped area off of our interstate for development, but it has a lack of infrastructure. That lack of infrastructure, and I know I put that, communicated that to the council most recently. We had a housing developer, an affordable housing developer in that area, and one of the barriers there is they have to run a sewer extension to the Mission Springs Water District wastewater treatment plant, and that's a $5 million extension because there is no infrastructure there, and that's a barrier. That's a barrier. So potentially, God bless you, from an economic development perspective, Palm Drive, could be a definite strategy there too. Logistics. Another area that I think we're geographically located. I think supply and demand, location is going to drive this. So from a staff perspective, I think we can work through that without, investment. But that is another, priority, strategic priority, potential. Small business retention and development. There is not a local, primary chamber of commerce here, although there is the Greater Coachella Valley Chamber of Commerce. We also have been talking to, go to my notes here, CVIP, and then also Karen of, I'm going to mispronounce this name here, Carnivasara Project. I'm going to probably mispronounce that, but investment is needed, if that is a priority of the council. Corporate franchise and attraction things that, and again, I think supply and demand is going to somewhat drive that. Those rooftop numbers are important. We continue working with developers from a staff perspective, but also there's an investment that we can make too as we go to trade shows by way of example. ICSC being one, is that an investment? That takes investments, and there's other trade shows that are out there. Then summarizing this all, and we're looking at this in a microcosm, but we could look at this in a macro approach too. And I know sometimes the council may not want to look at, studies because we want to put things into action. But we could study this too and have it more comprehensive review and have a true economic development strategy that can look at everything so we can more methodically move forward with this. And obviously that takes investment as well. So that summarizes everything with the exception of downtown development that we could talk about just in a couple things, I guess, before we get to that. Staff isn't looking today for the implementation side of it. Once we understand what the priorities are, we'll bring back what the implementation is. So we're just looking for the priorities today. Just by way of fiscal impact, so you're aware, we do have an economic development budget outside of staffing. We have $105,000 remaining in this year's budget, but probably more important because we're leading into the 24-25 amendment, for the entire fiscal year. There's $374,000 in the budget for next year. So that's why we're looking for that priority to make sure that, we're moving forward in how the council sees economic development. And that concludes this portion of it, Mr. Mayor, and I could follow up with downtown after the recusal.
Before you do that, let's talk this out because there's many bullet points here that we can talk through and prioritize those as a council, and then we as a majority that'll be left here can talk about how that downtown vision fits in there. The queue's not working, so I'll just start down this way. And Mr. Betts.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to run down the list quick, just give you my quick thoughts. Imaging. This might not be the typical thing you think of, but if you're an attractive city, I think we've made great strides in enhancing our look. As you drive up Palm Drive, we want people to say, what a nice looking city. We don't look like other cities in the valley. We could, but we may want to go for a different look, but we have areas that need to be improved. So whether that's the be-all, end-all of imaging, I think making sure your own house is in order, clean and attractive is important. Canada tourism, we've talked about this one so long, I think we just need to say yes. And I don't know, if somebody comes with a proposal, just tell them yes, go for it. I don't know what takes so long on that one, but I'm the guy that keeps wondering when cannabis is actually going to be legal instead of over-regulated. Events, we do have a very good UFC contingent in the city of champions. They've been awarded in world championships, and we've got Keon down there doing a great job. So that, but I'd love to see. I don't know if anybody else likes it, but a circle track would be so much fun in Desert Hot Springs. Like we're TT racing and circle track, and it's so fun to go there on a Friday. That could be a very good. Valley doesn't have that. Tourism. What do I got here? You know, don't forget when you're talking about the attributes of Desert Hot Springs, I mean, we talk about the cooler temperatures, but we don't have dust. I know we have a little bit, but every desert city does, but we are not in these dust clouds that are rolling down the valley. And I think when you're talking about tourism, you know, I don't know if you come up with a campaign is, but no need to dust the dust off your lounge chair. We're dust free in Desert Hot Springs. I think this is a much bigger problem for down valley right now than anybody's letting on. Palm Drive, that's the same thing as making it more attractive. I think you've got some structural taxation issues there that vacant undeveloped lots is getting a pretty easy ride on, you know, the tax burden. Somebody who's made the investment, put in a commercial property, and is done everything to spur economic activity is paying the highest tax rate. I think you could do something. There's no cost of investment for the vacant lots. The last thing I want to talk about is just a feel for the economic development strategy. We got to figure out what we want to be. And I know we've heard about art. I've always thought of some eclectic vibe with art, that we become an attraction to the visitors of the Coachella Valley. So when somebody flies into the Coachella Valley and says, what's there to do in the Palm Springs area or the Coachella Valley? They say, you got to be sure and go see Desert Hot Springs. Now, whether we become, you know, like Santa Cruz or something that has some vibe to it that becomes an attraction, and that might be a far cry, you know, get everybody say, look, we got to go see Desert Hot Springs. They're not saying that now, but at least as a goal towards getting through. So without going on too long, Mr. Mayor, those are my thoughts. Thank you.
Thank you, and I apologize to the public. I'll allow you to make public comments here in a few minutes. I'm going to get the first round of council done, and then we'll go to public comments before we make any decisions. You have not, no. I made a mistake.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. You know, I think for so long we've been looking for the magic bullet. The one thing that we will do that will make us the shining star of the valley. Well, you know, I kind of think we already are the shining star of the valley, but you have listed out, Mr. City Manager and your staff, a laundry list of things that are all fantastic, but we need to look at this from a holistic point of view. We have to sell the entire package of what it is that's Desert Hot Springs. It isn't one thing. It isn't just tourism. It isn't events. It isn't Palm Drive. It isn't beauty. It's a holistic approach that we need to really look at. And so, you know, looking down your laundry list, we have imaging, and we've done a lot in that case. We new street signs. We cleaned the city up. We put in a new city hall. The image, everywhere I go, everybody says, "Why, the city is so different than it was 10 years ago. It's so much nicer. It's so cleaner." It's like so. I don't know, spending a lot more money on imaging, maintaining the image is one thing, but I don't know if there's anything more we need to do as far as as new imaging. We talk a lot about cannabis tourism, and I see one of our friendly cannabis people in the audience today, Mr. Abelgard, and he and I have talked about this before. The one thing we keep missing, I think, on canna tourism, we're looking for consumption lounges, we're looking for whatever. You want to know the one thing that everybody asks me about cannabis and tourism? I want to go see how the stuff's made. I want to go through it. And I've talked about this with a few cannabis operators, a few of our cultivators. I says, you know, you're missing out on an opportunity here. I know you can't have a bunch of people trooping through the rooms and bringing in bugs and all kinds of stuff like that. But if you were just to set up a tour, a Disney-esque tour, windows, walk down the hallway, and they can look in and see how it's all going, and then drop them off in a gift shop, just like Disney does. There's a destination thing, and I think a lot of people are missing out on that. You know, we've set the we put the bait out, if you will, for attracting Canada tourism in the form of consumption lounges and hotels and our entertainment venues. We have the things in place for that already. The market maybe doesn't want to support that, which is maybe why we haven't got that. I don't know, but you know, the one thing we are missing, like I said, on cannabis tourism is actual tourism. People want to come see what's in those giant warehouses out there and what is going on. You know, I mean, serious, it really is. I get that asked a lot. I also, you know, looking at our tourism spas, hot springs, we have a fantastic partner in Visit Greater Palm Springs. And I'm not just saying that as the chair of the board, but because it is an amazing organization. And they do an absolute fantastic job of directing people all over the valley. What we need to do is start getting some of our more run-down properties brought back up to spot. And we've offered incentives that Councilmember Pai and I came up with a program that this council adopted to try to get more of that. So I'd like to see more people kind of take that in there. But tourism is going to be, I think, long-term, the third leg of our stool for long-term sustainability and jobs and tax revenue for this city. You know, we can look at logistics, we can look at Palm Drive and other things like that. You brought up small business retention and development. One of the reasons that Councilmember Nunez and I, when we sat down with the people from CVEP and politely told them that I don't think we want to continue funding their organization, was that the things that they're lacking on doing, those are the things that the Carnivasari Project and others are doing, where we have them actually helping small business owners start up businesses. Those are some things that I think that we need to develop in. But getting back to, you know, one of the things that we are, I think, it's not explicit in here, and I know you didn't overlook it, but when we talk to residents, we're out in the grocery store, the post office, the bank, there's no place to shop here, they say. There's no place to eat here other than Mexican restaurants. There is nothing here. And we have tried, and we have tried, and we have tried to attract other businesses to come here. We go up, we take scads of people up to ICSC up in Las Vegas. I don't think that's worth spending a dime on anymore. We don't get anything out of that. At least I have not seen a single business come to this city that we've talked to about ICSC. So I think that's one that you can just scratch off your list from my point of view. But, you know, looking at what our residents want, 10,000 of them leave here every day to work. I don't think we'll ever lose that number, because the bulk of the jobs that these people are doing are over there, healthcare, hospitality. We don't have that here. What we can do are have things here so they don't have to go across the freeway. And that's always been a priority of this council as long as I've been up here, and even before I was elected. We've been trying to get the stores out here. We've been trying to get the restaurants out here. I think that still needs to be one of our major priorities. But I don't think I'm going through a laundry list really that great of an exercise. We need to take a holistic approach and, like I said, sell the entire package of what it is to be Desert Hot Springs.
Mr. Mayor, if I may, just for clarity purposes, the imaging is, at least from a staff perspective, looked at this as more telling our story out there, making sure that people realize more so, continue to, you know, maybe even try to get their reach even farther and more often about how safe the city is and what a great city is. And the downtown that we heard from Friday night in Pearson, as people experience it, it's like, wow, this is great. So we wanted to really accentuate that more, which kind of leads to economic development. So that was what we meant by that imaging side.
Mayor Pro Tem?
I'm a little different. I think we should start with economic development strategy for everything. No, in all of your lists, we need to have a strategic plan. That will get us with the imagery and everything else. But starting with, I would like for Desert Hot Springs to become the Sedona We have cannabis, and we should try and stay with that. We have tourism, and we should try and stay with that. Everything else, it's where you say demand is driving the market. That's the other priority. And the reason, if you look at the housing that's further down that will be discussed, we're getting, even with the stats that you stated, we're getting higher revenue on housing. And I've been told the reasoning behind that, but there again, if you do a strategic plan, we can do it. We do need a chamber for the reasons that chamber exists. We need business development. We just, otherwise, if we end up doing the strategic plan, you're going to find out that staff has got to do Chamber of Commerce. No. Anyway, that's my stuff.
Mr. Nunez?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I need to apologize. I'm not feeling too well, getting sick, but I had an opportunity to look at this list, and many that know me, I think I can relate to every one of these items that we listed. So it was really hard for me to kind of like try to focus, but after doing so, I came up with one. And for me, it's thinking long-term and thinking not just for myself, but the residents, and so many things that we can accomplish. And it has to do with the Palm Drive. I see the vision of the 10 and the 62. Putting in the infrastructure and bringing in those traveling tax dollars. That way we can use it to fund events. We can fund tourism. We can fund the small business development. I think it's important for us to start looking at the future that, you know, every other city in the Coachella Valley are doing is they're using the I-10 to bring in those tax dollars. And it's the traveling tax dollars that are important. Losing 10,000 residents every day to go across the freeway or on the freeway, and that's the number we're not counting how many are jumping on the 62. So these are, you know, very important tax dollars that we could be capturing from residents come, or, you know, just visitors coming, going to Joshua Tree. We can stop them on 62 and get those tax dollars and implement a lot of the plans, a lot of the features that we can. So for me, I'm looking at the list, and my main priority would be the 10 and the 62 infrastructure improvements. That way we could start looking at the future development and start bringing in these tax dollars. That's it, Mr. Rent.
I'll give you some thoughts, and then we'll get some public comments, and then we'll see if we can make a decision here. I wholeheartedly support what Councilmember Nunez just said. I think what we're missing is one opportunity that a lot don't have. It's that we have a major highway and a major freeway bypassing our city. Actually, the highway goes right through our city, technically. If we were to focus, which we should, on Highway 62, and we put this in the general plan, 2 general plans ago, was to rezone and focus on that area. Any developer that develops a first fuel station or retail center there, that area is going to explode. Last year was reported, I've always said 2 million at one point, 2.5 million, and last year was reported 3 million visitors to Joshua Tree. Let alone all the high desert traffic that comes down. Even our city manager has to travel down there from the high desert every day. It's just there's a untapped market there, I think. Looking at your bullet points here, an economic development strategy is always important, but being on the city council now 17 years, we've seen strategies put together, seen plans put together, and it just becomes plans. I don't think we should pay someone to do an extravagant plan. I think you, as a staff, can put together a strategy and present it to us and move forward with it. Desert Hot Springs is famous because of its hot water. It is becoming really famous because of its hiking views. It's becoming statewide famous because of its cannabis. There's quite a bit there that we could focus on. I don't think we need to look outside the box. We need to look within the box and see our strengths. If we continue to give incentives to our hoteliers to build hotels, such as Maria Elise has done, and I'm using her as an example, not just because her hotel is beautiful, because she was the pilot for what we did when these two council members put together the incentive program and how it really worked. So if we could go back and revitalize some of the dilapidated hot springs, hotels and spas, and start to move towards that with some sort of cannabis understanding and those types of things, I think we get back to where we were. In 2009-10, we did a Miracle Hill plan, and that was a lot of community members drove around, put together this plan, and paid some money for some people to come out and organize it, but it was well done in an overlay in an area that's that needs to be implemented. So I think utilizing that piece of that plan, we'll talk later about the downtown and the Vortex plan. But there's a lot of plans that we put together in different areas that we could take bits and pieces from, I think. Palm Drive is, again, that first retail corridor shopping facility somewhere down by Dillon and Palm is just going to take that whole corridor up. People are driving across the freeways. You stated over 10,000 people leaving the community every day to work somewhere else. It's easier to shop at a Walmart or somewhere that's easier to get into town because our thoroughfares are so crowded. If we start to spread that shopping and retail opportunities out, it's going to be huge for our community. People will want to come back into town and shop because it'll be easier. Attending things like ICSC, I do see the benefit. I've gone a couple times in the last few years. I don't know if it's beneficial for us to have our own booth anymore. I think it's better maybe we share a booth. Riverside County has a booth that they share with all the cities, and maybe a table there a couple hours a day and just doing some walking around with a small contingent. I think there is some, we've met some people there. We definitely have. The economy dictates where these developers end up developing a lot of times because of the interest rates. Imaging's always been very important to me. I'm always out there beating the drum on the image of Desert Hot Springs. I can tell people to, I'm blue in the face, that we have some of the lowest crime, if not the lowest crime in certain categories throughout the Coachella Valley, and they laugh at me, thinking I'm telling a joke, and it's not, it's true. People drive through the city, and someone said it up here earlier, as soon as they see the community and they see what we've done over the last 5, 6, 7 years, they see a difference. People that haven't been here in 5, 6, 10 years see a difference. National home builders came here and they're building homes now because they saw a difference. So we know the models out there and what we've been doing, but how do we enhance it is, I think, where you're going. We've tried a bunch of different things, small business retention and development. Today we had a meeting with the Chamber of Commerce, Greater Coachella Valley Chamber of Commerce, and Jeff's in the audience that represents the board here, and we had a good conversation. We talked about where we can go as partners going forward. So there's a lot of pieces here. I don't know how you prioritize those. I really don't. I would love for you to try to put together a little spreadsheet on how we've talked here to see how that would work. But every one of these is important to me. The only thing I would say about events is that the Coachella Valley is surrounded by events and major event venues now, with Aquasure opening up and all the casinos having event space. I don't know where you get, what could we fit in our community that would bring people across the freeway to come to an event here, and where do we have that space for that? Is that something we really put a lot of focus on? Is there smaller events that we could do that could meet, utilize our downtown or utilize our spas or other things? I think so, but I don't know what that pool is and how much energy should be really put into that at this point. I think I hit most of the point. Oh, logistics. I think that's a medium priority, and the reason I say that is logistics is important and it's already coming. And that, again, is going to be dictated by the market and the economy. So the more the economy needs and the bigger the logistic facilities need to grow and come to the Coachella Valley, they'll see the opportunity with space on the I-10 there. And if they need to build, they will build. I don't think we need to go out there and beat the drum on, look at Desert Hot Springs on this. They see the opportunity there, and as soon as the market's there to build, they'll build. So those are my comments at this point. I'm going to go to the audience. Anyone that'd like to speak may come forth. You have 3 minutes. Just state your name and give us your thoughts.
Hello and good evening, everyone. Jeffrey Holman. I am the chair for the DHS Business Committee of the Greater Coachella Valley Chamber of Commerce. Scott said we had a meeting today. I'm very happy that this agenda item is in front of council because we have a committee right here in DHS of people ready and willing to help. We just need direction. And I think that's what Frank is reaching out to council for, to get that direction. We are a large regional chamber, over 1,000 members. We have plenty of resources. We can help with whatever business development needs DHS has that fall within our wheelhouse. Whether it's doing huge ribbon cuttings for the vet clinic, we're working with Mr. Applegarth on some kind of tourism stuff. There's lots of resources the chamber has, and we look forward to having some direction and partnering with the city on ways to help improve the business community here. And apart from that, me personally, it's been discussed quite a bit here, but I want to reiterate my support for improving the imaging and the perception of the community. Because in my personal business, I deal with this with my clients on a daily basis when I'm talking to young families looking for a place to live. And as soon as I say DHS, red flags go up. Oh no, I'm going to go up there and get killed, when it's not like that at all. Everybody in this room knows that, but there's still that stigma in the rest of the valley. And I think the imaging, the perception, it still needs to happen to get more people up here. Because when it comes to people living in the Coachella Valley, that negative image of DHS is still what's keeping a lot of people away that I see every single day with the people that I talk to. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff. Anyone else like to have some comments? Please come forth.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, City Council, Team DHS. Very nice to see everyone. Hope you're all well. This is a fascinating conversation, and I'm so glad I'm a member. My name is Scott Russick, by the way. I am not Mr. Applegarth, but we do work together. We're on the same board, and I'm happy to carry his spirit. I'm also a member of the DHS Business Committee, and with CV-CAN, as you all know, the Coachella Valley Cannabis Alliance Network. This is a great conversation. I applaud the city manager and staff for bringing this up. You know, economic development is the cornerstone for everything, right? And the question becomes, you know, spending money to make money kind of thing. To me, one of the concepts in prioritization, when there are so many different things to look at, and there are really so many different alternatives and options, is return on investment. And return on investment doesn't necessarily have to mean capital dollars in, right? It could be perception, it could be good feeling, it could be better community. There's a number of different concepts, you know, under the guise of a return on investment. As you all know, I happen to believe that cannabis can be a big part of, you know, not necessarily solving all of the city's challenges, but helping the city by bringing in revenue, by bringing in tax dollars, by bringing in jobs to move forward, you know, through that strategic plan, so that all things can be encompassed. You know, it's interesting. The timing of this is really good. As some of you know, Higher Yields Consulting from Denver is coming in and doing an expo later next month to help operators work more efficiently, and they've just found out to also help city staff and administrations throughout the Coachella Valley. That's happening. CV-CAN is putting on a Canna tourism event in connection with College of the Desert, the Greater Coachella Valley Chamber of Commerce, Visit Greater Palm Springs on May 9th. The idea is to bring the cannabis community in the entire valley together with frontline hoteliers and to build relationships so that we can foster bringing more business. I just came back, I'm a little short on time, from, we're talking about events, Hall of Flowers in Ventura. Hall of Flowers is an expo, primarily B2B type of event. I don't want to misquote the numbers, but it brought in multiple thousands of people. It was very well received. It was a wonderful event. I'm not necessarily suggesting Desert Hot Springs should consider an exact Hall of Flowers, but something along those lines certainly can bring a lot of opportunity. I guess really, that's pretty much what I wanted to say. You know, I think this is just a wonderful initiative. I want to stay in the lane of CANA because that's what I know and not comment on too much. But CVCAN and DHS Business Committee are resources. We're happy to help as much as we can and are able. Thank you.
Thanks, Scott.
My name is Martin Carrion. I worked in a high school district, and you got to consider that you have to bring in the youth to stay in this county because you're having a brain, they're leaving. So I'm going to throw some ideas out that brings the kids involved. Vertical composting, I used to do it. They have classes down there in Torrance, and these little worms can eat up heads of lettuce like no tomorrow. And what's produced is their urine, and that urine you can utilize it by putting back into the water table, and it also has microbiomes that break down things that you don't see. So that's one option I think you should consider. At least it gets the youth involved. At least they feel they're a part of this community. The next thing is I took care of the premier building in Culver City. Now, when the city of Culver City got out of their league, they brought in the hired guns. And what they did is they took care of all the initiatives of making sure that the contractors followed the state contractors board. And there's a whole book on that, what the qualifications are. And they made sure that these buildings are compliant to every statute to that outline. That frees up the law part of your to oversee, and also puts a third party involved in this thinking process. And also too, you got to realize, I sat in some of the biggest shows in the world over there in Culver City, and we had the Blues Festival, but I know Culver City had their ideas and it really paid dividends. But one thing, since we're nurturing the cannabis thing, maybe the Bob Marley Festival or something reggae. Also down there, when I took the train, there's nobody coming down to meet people. They're stranded there. They got, you need to maybe nurture a convention center atmosphere. And there's also one more thing. The New Mexico State grows, they have the Chili Pepper Institute there. And this is ideal climate to grow this stuff, and also to bring in a lot of the culinary. I grew a bush about this high, and it was the third highest in the level of the scope and peppers. And this culinary idea is they started using this chili pepper, and they were using it in apple Popeyes and all that, but they make chocolate habaneros, and all these are sauces. And those are the ideas I think you guys should consider. And also maybe a redevelopment agency, because they used one in Hawthorne. So there you go.
Hi, Irene.
Good evening. Irene Rodriguez, Executive Director of Cannabis Bowling Museum and member of the Desert Hot Springs Business Committee for Greater Chamber. So I know that our visitors actually come from different areas, different places from the world, but they're also either coming from Joshua Tree, from the high desert on the way out, or coming into. We had visitors that were attending the tennis tournament that also come in. So, but those are just a small percentage. I think maximizing that aspect will be the great benefits, not only for the museum, but as well for the city, and also thinking about where do we take them. What else could they do here in Desert Hot Springs? They're trying to walk somewhere in downtown, and I really can recommend that, but I definitely recommend different places to eat. So this is really exciting. I look forward to see what happens and to be part of the planning as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and member of council. My name is Shaul Mizrahi. It's been a long day for me. I'm here just to speak for the city of Desert Hot Spring. I live in the Coachella Valley area, and I've been here for 20 years. I'm a real estate person, and my family, we are a small developer. So we've developed few homes in the vicinity. Then we decided to come in here to the Desert Hot Spring. We built 41 homes on the west side of Desert Hot Spring. It was just right during the COVID period, and I didn't think we could pull it off because honestly I didn't have much faith with the Desert Hot Spring, because knowing that the market was kind of very tight. Nevertheless, we finished our project. We sold everything. We built 41 homes, all sold. We attracted buyers all the way from Los Angeles, many of them from Los Angeles and other parts of the U.S. And many of them, they bought these homes for using the second home as well as doing the short-term rental. They bought them, they spent more money, they put pools, they put all sort of, structures, add-ons, and attracted people from elsewhere. And I've been hearing a lot of good comments from everyone here about a variety of stuff. But for one thing, I heard you say about tourism. I heard about events. There are plenty of events surrounding the Desert Hot Spring. Desert Hot Springs is very well located between Palm Springs and the high desert. So I always thought strategically, being right on Highway 10, close to the coastal cities, in between the two great tourist attraction, it makes it a great place for tourism. Not necessarily to come here for an event, but to come here and to stay in one of the hotels. But unfortunately, not enough hotel rooms, so we thought, hey, this short-term rental would be a great option. So we start building, selling, doing very well. Then market sort of starts slowing down, interest rate went up. So we said, let's slow down, let's not move out of Desert Hot Springs. So we decided just to build 7 homes this round. So we built 7 homes. We finished them like 3-4 months ago, and we have only 1 under contract. The other 6 are not selling. We have another project that we may start in Desert Hot Spring. We have acquired.
That's going to be 3 minutes.
Okay. Anyway, my whole point I'm making here is we need to look back and we need to reevaluate the decision that was made here about the short-term rental.
Thank you
That's
very
it.
much.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Oh, hi. I guess I will talk again because I came out here in 2019, actually. I moved out here in 2019. And actually, Desert Hot Springs was a really nice community, really calm, really quiet. They actually allowed me to start my business out here, which I am a business owner. I own Make America Amazing. And since we're talking about, making DHS amazing or something close to it, the failure to get the money off the freeway is probably your biggest obstacle. I would say ours too, because I live out here. But I did propose a truck stop to Doria Williams a while back. I was trying to get it involved with the DOT with my business, Make America Amazing. But I would say that this 10 freeway, the surrounding of the DHS is like the untapped. If you look at every other place that's tapped, out here it's like untapped, which is really nice, really beautiful because you can do what you want to with it. But I would definitely look into it. If you do, sounds like you guys only have $365,000, so that ain't gonna go too far. Especially with the property down there worth $10 million, just on the corner. You guys don't own it, So I would look into maybe just trying to create an idea around the 10. What ideas can we have? If you look at the truck stop on Indian Canyon, the pilot, they need more of that. You could look at the RV parking. It's just not a truck stop. RV parking, pretty cars come through here. Like you said, the dust doesn't really blow down there as opposed to across the bridge. So I would look into that, as far as that, creating ideas for the freeway. If not, then yeah. And other than that, I would clean up the streets a little bit, treat the, we do got a homeless problem. Everybody knows about that. I would try to create a place for them to go, not a force to go, but hey, we have this for you and it's a little bit better than sleeping out here on the streets, especially in the middle of the summertime. So I know I only got 3 minutes, but I would look into the homeless or driving down the street, Palm Drive, it starts looking nice, and then you get down there and you run into the homeless and you're like, well, I love them, thank you for opening up the door for me. I give them money, but if you guys could do something about that, like have a place where they could go, I know it's not forced, but, sometimes that you kind of coach them into it. So I would say those two things.
Appreciate your comments. Anyone else?
Hello to the council. I'm Lacey Williams, and I sat and I listened to everyone talk about all the great economic strategies to help bring money into the city and the resources that we already have in the city. And I just want to remind everybody about the human resources that we have in the city and what Mayor Pro Tem Jampai said about the city being like Sedona. I think that the health of the city and the wellness of the city is extremely important, and those things greatly intersect with the cannabis and also the waters. Like Mayor Mata said, our name is Desert Hot Springs. But unfortunately, as our city manager mentioned, we have maybe the lowest median income in our area. So many of the people that I talk to when I go shop in my favorite store, Brands Overstock, we talk about going to the water sometimes. And for the residents, that has to be a treat. That has to be something that we save for. And some of the spas have given opportunities to have like a $5 local discount. But that's a discounted of $89 to come and enjoy the waters. And Irene, I saw her here when Cabot discovered the waters. The waters are supposed to be for all of us and supposed to be for everyone, for us to have access. So what Councilmember Gardner was saying about the conservation and the rangers and what this council's legacy could be, I really would like to hear some plans for our residents to be able to have access, affordable access to the water, not only for the healing properties, but as everyone said, so many thousands of people have to leave every day. That's a nice little drive. And we're a working class community and we're tired when we get home. And all the tourists can come and enjoy our world-class spas, but can we? Do we have a place where we can go? It's an energy vortex. It's a place where hot and cold waters are in our aquifer, but where do we go when we want to enjoy it? So I just want to remember all of the hard workers here in our beautiful city of Desert Hot Springs, and they be in the conversation when it comes to which way the city is moving, especially with our health and wellness. So thank you.
Thank you. Fantastic comments. Anyone else? Yes, Mr. Mullen.
Tom Moen, resident of Desert Hot Springs since 1979. That's before a lot of people that live here were born. But I want to say this. Let's get excited. Desert Hot Springs is a great place to live. It's a wonderful place. And I'm used to preaching sermons, and we've been so dull here tonight, I think I'd put people to sleep. They'd send the deacons to poke me with a stick and wake me up. But Desert Hot Springs is wonderful. I like Desert Hot Springs. My grandparents first came here in the mid-1960s. My grandmother had a botched surgery on her hips, both hips, and the doctor told her, get used to living in that wheelchair because you're not getting out. Well, her sister had some friends out here and they came out, and I think the mayor's familiar with Sam's Family Spa and some of the other places. She looked around and she ended up at one of the other parks, but she looked at that thoroughly and she was excited. And after about 3 to 4 months, she sold that wheelchair because she could walk. We've got Miracle City here. We've got a lot of things we do. And there's a book that I read as a teenager called The Magic of Thinking Big. Magic of Thinking Big. And we have a whole community of young people who could stand the magic of thinking big. We have to think outside the box. I've worked with Dan Gibbons, and we've been kind of busy, so we've been slacking off a little bit. I apologize. But, you know, we have filed papers for the fictitious business name of Spa City Chamber of Commerce. We need something here. And the Greater Coachella Chamber of Commerce, that's fine. But you know, in Desert Hot Springs, we need people that understand Desert Hot Springs. And again, I said it before, we need to get excited. How can we sell anything if we're sitting here, this, that, oh, you know. No! Let's get excited. We have a wonderful city here, and I'm going to say it again. We need that statue on Highway 62 at Pearson Boulevard, and it has to be huge. We have a nice one on city property, you know, that's about as tall as I am. But let's get that going. Let's think big. Let's think outside the box. Both of my grandfathers worked on the railroad. My dad's dad built railroad. My mother's dad rode on the mail car on the train from Spokane, Washington to Missoula, Montana in the morning, and vice versa. Anyway, maybe we can put a choo-choo train from there, run it up to Joshua Tree. We can be part of it. Anyway, I'll be quiet. My 3 minutes are up.
All right, I think everyone in the audience has spoken. Okay, I see nobody else coming forth. At this time, we're going to go into the next part of the conversation. Mr. Betts, you're going to recuse yourself?
Could I just have a couple follow-up comments really quickly? I know we've been here a while, but I just think it's been a good conversation. And Jan's comment on Sonoma, I hadn't thought of Sonoma. I mentioned Santa Cruz. If we're going to be Sonoma, Sonoma doesn't have logistics warehouses in the middle of their fine views. So we need to make sure that logistics warehouses, if that's what we're going to be, and we say, okay, where are they going to be? Well, we're going to be Sonoma, so we're going to make sure those are in the industrial area. And then Roger's bringing up, it's so obvious, Palm Drive and I-10 for industrial development, and 62, same thing. The truck stop was mentioned. They could be a huge revenue generator. We've got perfect place down there. Most people don't want a truck stop, but that's not going to have the impacts on the residents that they might have in some other cities. And on to Roger's point, the Arco Mini Mart, I think at one point maybe still is our highest retail revenue generator down there by the I-10. And so anyhow, and Gary, I really liked your idea about the tourism. That was great. Scott, I forgot which one you had, but you had a good one too. I'm just trying to be Mr. Positive here today. Sorry, I'm tired.
All right, you want to state your recusal?
Yes, I have a, if you guys are going to go talk about the downtown now, I have a hair salon in Palm Drive, 12084 Palm Drive. I'm going to recuse them.
Well, thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. So the last portion of that is downtown, and the whole context. I know, Mr. Mayor, you asked, how do you kind of go through this? And everything is. I know Councilmember Gardner mentioned it. Everything is important, right? Without a doubt, 100% it is. But how do we, from a staff perspective, and the limited dollars we have, put focus and trying to accomplish what is the most important to the council, right? Which doesn't mean others don't get any focus at all. What is the most? And from a manager's perspective, the downtown is that nucleus, right? It intersects a few things. We hear, from a spa perspective of it, and I think most people don't want to, go to a spa and get Netflix and take out and go back to their room, or they want to go somewhere. Our residents want to have a place that they call their own, right? And we see that, we're starting to see that somewhat with Friday nights in Pearson, but I think it needs more, right? And that downtown development, I know Mr. Clark and I have been talking a lot about this. How do we get that energy, you know? I know Mr. Mohan said, you know, the energy. I think that energy is in a downtown because it connects everything. You look at the list here, imaging. A downtown creates that image, right? Because that's that place that everybody wants to go. You know, talking to Eric and some of the comments that I've heard as it relates to the Friday nights in Pearson, he said that people said, wow, this, you know, this is great. This is safe, and this is, you know, to that imaging, and that downtown helps that. Events, you know, once you have an event, where do you go? Do you go back home? Do you go back to somewhere else, wherever you're from? You go back to your home? You go to a downtown. Downtowns have restaurants, they have bars, they have all the things that, you know, a lot of folks can do. Then there's, you know, dress shops and other things that make it all possible, cohesive together. Housing residents want it, spas is mentioned. You know, you go down that list, small business is downtown America. But how do we do that, right? And I think, and that's where the resources come into play, and that's why I recommend that and imaging at the top, because we today, really, the only thing that we have in our budget to do anything from a downtown perspective is Friday nights in Pearson, and that budget is too small. That budget, I think, is $60,000 a year, and it's too small, as we've heard. You know, you need more than just that takeout, meaning the food trucks and you go home, right? You know, we need infrastructure down there. And, you know, where do we start first? Do we start, and I know we've kind of gone a little bit around in circles on this, do we start with a plan, or there are some low-hanging fruit that's out there? And again, we're not here today to recommend how we do it. I think we could bring that back in a future day, but we're trying to, from a staff perspective, to understand where the priority is. And downtown, what we're thinking is that priority, because it connects to a lot of different things. And if so, we're going to look at our budget, our limited resources we have, and come back to you and saying, okay, this is how we implement. Everything's important, absolutely, 100%. But we can focus and we can narrow those resources that we have down to accomplish something big. And I think a downtown is small town America that is important to not only the tourism community, but our residents. So that's where staff is with this. We're looking, I know it's difficult, a lot of great comments tonight, you know, and we're just looking for, you know, what is that priority? Maybe not so much ranking everything, because we're going to touch all of them, but what is the most important?
I'm going to start with comments. I'm going to go backwards this time. So the downtown's important to me, as you guys know. We put together a steering committee to kind of talk about these issues. I worked almost 15 years ago when Mayor Parks was mayor, under her to help with the Vortex plan. I also sat on the Miracle Hill plan. And when you look at these plans, they're big. Huge redevelopment was talked about tonight, but unfortunately Governor Brown, when he was in office, took that away from us at the local level. So we're stuck with trying to finance something with pennies, not dollars anymore. So to focus on Pearson Boulevard from West Drive to Cactus Drive, I thought was manageable. And if you look at all the business owners downtown, you probably got some of the more passionate ones in that section. Not saying there's not passionate ones in the other, but we have hurdles. We have business owners that are owning these developments or these buildings here in the downtown and some parts of Desert Hot Springs that are just holding them and not doing anything with them. So not only is it a downtown plan, but is it a plan to come up with some sort of incentive to get them to do that, whether it's you sit vacant for a certain period of time and you start to incur fees that would equal the tax revenues that we should be receiving. Maybe that's part of a plan moving for strategic plan moving forward. I don't think this is all about kumbaya and this is great and we're a beautiful city. It's about who's stopping us from being that. But again, going back to my priorities as the mayor would be to focus on what we started a couple years ago, is that one section, and then build on that. I know there's comments about Friday Night in Pearson right now about the way it's positioned, and there's some business owners who are like, I don't know if we want to keep it there, so maybe we should rotate it. Maybe we should expand it and make it something bigger, like a farmer's market and Pearson, Friday nights on Pearson. We had some good conversations with the chamber today on what can be done. So there's lots there. I just don't think there's enough with everything we've discussed tonight for us to all agree on a path. But I think you've heard a lot of comments that you could come back with. These are the top 3, 5, 6 priorities I hear from you guys. Your office meets with us on a regular basis, once a week, if not every other week, and run those by each of us and then kind of get that consensus. And if we need to come back and vote on it in general, I don't think I have the bandwidth tonight to look at all this and go, I really think that's a priority over this, or this is a priority over that. Because I don't think all of us are on the same exact page on what our top priorities would be, and I think we'd be here all night trying to figure that out. Heard a lot of great comments from the audience. Maybe, but that's my discussion about the downtown portion of it and my thoughts on the overall. Start with Mr. Nunez.
I have to agree. I think it's a lot to take in. I think I have, a lot of ideas about the downtown. I think we can only obviously say that the residents and the people that come to Desert Hot Springs will shape, the image, the culture, the art, community. That focuses on our downtown. But how we get there is it's going to take, I think a lot more than one night to really put into play. So I would say, what I want to see might be, way different than what Gary wants to see. I would like to see a fish market, but that's just me, and I don't know how they would feel. So I would reserve that. So.
Ms. Pye?
I'd like to see a fish market also. We need a downtown. It doesn't make sense not to have a downtown, but the reason why I'm not excited is because we have to do it strategically. We do need to think out of the box. But what happened with the vendors, we didn't know what was going to happen with the vendors. We were only supposed to do that for a short period of time. And then the vendors said, we like this. And so we continue it. And we're still continuing it. We weren't expecting it. This is why I'm talking about the strategic plan. They can do it themselves. They don't have to spend a lot of money, but we have to be strategic. To do certain things downtown, we're going to have to change the general plan a little bit, because there's certain things that, in my opinion, that are going in there that is not part of the downtown. And we have to pay attention to cannabis, and we have to pay attention to the spas in bringing people in. That's what we're known for. When I say Sedona, we are known for relaxation. Mm-hmm. And whatever happens in November with the state and feds, they're going to have problems. And they're going to come after cannabis. And we need to be prepared for that, because then they're going to increase the taxes. There's certain things in federal where they're not going to give us money right away for infrastructure, which is the things that we're going to need. This is why we need a strategic plan. And I agree with you with the going back to downtown, but that, what are we going to put downtown? And that's where I think we need economic development strategy.
Also would include the ordinances of the downtown. I think it need to be changed and shifted around a little bit too. So.
I think that's what I was trying to say.
Yeah. I want to see a fish market also. So there you go. There's a top priority.
Having lived in Seattle for 30 years, I don't particularly care if I've had my fill
right,
of
3-1.
fish. 3-1 on fish. Okay. Again, I hope we're not trying to search for the one magic bullet that's going to fix everything, and I don't think we are. But if we were to boil down the component parts, and trying not to put Mr. Moen to sleep again here, but he's right in the sense that this is a wonderful place, and all of us here love it. And I think all of us spend a lot of time in other cities in the valley convincing people. And sometimes it takes one at a time, two at a time, but that's going to take, we'll all be dead and gone by the time we convince everybody that hasn't come over here that has a negative opinion about Desert Hot Springs to come over. We can't go that route. But making the city attractive is probably the key. And I think we've done a good job of that. We haven't spread the word, and I don't know how we spread the word on that. But again, we're focusing on downtown, and then the key to making the city attractive is downtown. And when we think about Palm Springs, you think about Palm Canyon, and you think about their Thursday night street festival that they have. When you think about Palm Desert, you think of El Paseo. We don't have that. We could have, we'll never have El Paseo, but we can have downtown Desert Hot Springs. And our spa visitors need a place to go. Our residents need a place to go. The energy for that is downtown. And again, fixing downtown is not going to be the magic bullet, but it is going to be the first step. And again, I concur with the mayor that, vacant storefronts, after a certain period of time, we really got to figure out a way, whether it's a whip or a carrot or a stick, to get people into those buildings. And I think that's got to be a key component of the downtown strategy. But I think, you're looking for a consensus. I think we all agree that the consensus is making the city a place people want to come to, and a key of that is having a vibrant, bright downtown. And we're all excited about the city. We're all excited about the future. It doesn't get really exciting talking about it, but we can get there, and I think that's your key.
So, is it the consensus of the council to have the city manager go back and maybe listen to this over and over again in his head at 3 o'clock in the morning and try to bring back maybe more of a narrowed down priority list of issues that we can kind of all agree on? Does that seem fair?
Yeah, so here's, I was thinking, how I could take this to the next step. And, just kind of throw that out, see how council feels about it. So we have that current budget kind of leading into next year based on all the comments that I've heard tonight. I'll look at that budget, $374,000 for next year.
Excuse me, can he come back now?
If we're not going to make a specific vote on the downtown and you're just generalizing, yes, we could bring Mr. Betts back in.
You heard us.
He's coming.
So for the audience, there's audio in there and nothing precludes Mr. Betts from listening to the conversation. It precludes him from participating in the conversation. But now that we've determined that we're not going to prioritize that portion of it, we're going to give an overview of your thoughts.
And we're giving up on the fish market?
No, it was a majority 3-1.
So based on the comments tonight, what I think I have direction on is what I'll do is I'll look at next year's budget, because again, the adjustments, I think, Jeffrey, are coming in late May. And based on the strategies and comments that I heard tonight, I'll make some proposals out there. I'll start vetting that with the council and ultimately making that proposal to the council. There may be some adjustments to that 374, what's currently in there, and trying to align it with everything that I heard tonight. I think everybody heard, I think I heard, downtown predominantly. So I'll try to get that in there. And I think there's bite-sized things that we could accomplish, but there's going to have to be some reprioritization in there, because it's a zero-sum game. That 374 can't grow to 450 by way of example. That 374 has got to stay relative unless there's new revenue. So I'll propose that back and hopefully that will give some more context to either agree or change.
Fair enough. All right, we're not going to take action on this item now. You got enough information to move forward. I think we're all comfortable with that. Thank you to everyone that participated. I think we bring back another item that will be more precise on our direction. Unless you want to hang out and sit with Tom for the rest of the meeting, you're more than welcome to leave. We have a couple more items on our that we pulled from consent calendar to handle tonight. Item number 5, Mr. Betts, you pulled out. That's the 2023 Housing Element Annual Progress Report. Do you have a specific question, or would you like a full report?
I don't think I need a full report,
Thank
but
you.
I think this is a significant enough issue for us. And I know this is just an annual report, but a couple things stand out, and I didn't pull this just for the sake of pulling it. We have extremely low, very low, low, moderate, above moderate categories. And we're making progress on the above moderate. Those actually end up being our market housing. And we're making progress on the moderate. But I'm wondering where staff is on bringing us progress towards the very low and the extremely low income housing. There may be something in the works, but I think in the context of this agenda item, we need to hear that. We got 284 units that we're obligated to build. We certainly have people in town who are struggling with housing. We see that every day. Can I just get a quick update? What are we doing towards, what's in the future? Not where are we now, what's in the
Can
future?
you clarify your comment? We as the city of Desert Hot Springs are not obligated to build, but we're obligated to try to entice development. Is that a fair assessment?
Well, we're under obligation by the state to come up with a plan to facilitate these numbers.
Yeah. So one of the things that's in the very near future is meeting with the county's chosen developer for their property, Abode Communities, and we actually have I would call it a pre-app meeting on Thursday to sort of kick off that project. So right now, the number of units isn't pinned down because the plan is still very conceptual. It's probably going to be somewhere between 140 and 180 units.
Where do they fall on the scale here?
They would all be affordable, so they would be a variety of extremely low, low, and there, at this point, no market rate units are part of that project.
Okay.
And then just to add to that, there will be an agenda item coming forward to the council specifically to discuss this topic, but there are a variety of other projects that have recently been entitled. So there's another project that would be in that same housing mix. It's Green Day Village. They're working on their funding mechanism right now. That's just under 700 units. So there's great progress that's being made, specifically to your question, Councilmember Betts. But that is going to be coming forward as a discussion item at a very near future meeting to discuss in more detail.
Okay, so not to carry on too much longer, but I think we need to keep this in front of us. Our goal should be, the time the 7th cycle comes around, we're in the 6th, that the HCD is holding us up and saying, wow, look at this city, what they did. And I know you did great things when you went up to Long Beach to settle it down, because we were in arrears.
I don't think I did great things, but I argued for the city, I'll tell you that.
You got them off our back, so that's it. That's all I had on that, Mr. Mayor.
All right, you want to make a motion?
Yeah, motion.
Is this just file and receive?
No, there's a resolution.
No, there's an adoption of a resolution on this
Okay,
one.
Gary, you want to do it, or? Okay, motion to adopt a resolution of the City Council of the City of Desert Hot Springs, California, to direct staff to submit the 2023 Housing Community Development and Housing Element Annual Progress Report.
Just press move on the screen. Get a second on the screen. Was there any public comments on this? Please vote.
Motion passes unanimously.
Item number 7 is a receive and file only. This is the payment register and city council expenditures for the period of February 1, 2024 to February 29th, 2024. Mr. Betts, you have a specific question?
Yeah, as we're going over this, we had such a
Your microphone's off.
We had such a positive conversation here on these other issues. I don't want to get too deeply into this, but there's 2 items that come up on the register demands, and this is the council simply receiving and filing what's, but I got some questions on this, and one is the check number 47119, which would be for the kitchen and cooling Hacienda Hub project for $166,500. And then the improvements to the restroom and shower remodel for $167,000 for a total of $333,500. And my comments are these, is that as I expressed earlier, and I won't rehash that or go into that, but we have not had a detailed breakdown absent this register demands and the mid-year budget adjustments of these expenses. I gave a rundown because I asked for the detailed from the city manager. I received that and I presented that, in a list at the last council meeting. But as I've dug into this since then, since the last council meeting, I've reviewed a lot of internal documents, and they're showing that this was awarded as a no-bid contract, that the contract went out on September 6th with request for proposal, and proposals came back with a deadline of September 11th. They were identified as emergency invoices, and I'm going, what was the emergency? It was suggested that we voted on this in closed session back in May 2nd of 2023, and if that was the case that we voted on, then what could possibly be the emergency? That was at least 10 months of planning. We had a meeting here on Martha's, I believe it was on the 29th, the 19th, wait a minute, I got it here somewhere, on the 19th, September 19th, in which we were talking about the facility being ready to go, turnkey, and ideal was the word used. But at the same time, on September 6th, staff was planning and preparing for $629,230 worth of improvements, which never came to us. And I'm not pointing any fingers here. I'm just saying that there is stuff here that is, to me, doesn't adhere to the Brown Act and public policy on open meeting, and that affords the public the right to weigh in on this and this council to weigh in on. I would have liked to had a say. Do we need to take and spend $629,232 or $230 to rehab a facility that we bought for $575? I'm pretty sure my vote would have been no, but I haven't had that opportunity. One of the things we spent money on was a kitchen. But if you go through and you look, we put this really nice commercial kitchen, but then we spent $6,500 on pizza and, what was it? $6,792 bringing in pizza and takeout delivery from a restaurant. That doesn't comport. If somebody's going to say, hi, you're putting this in, I say, well, why are you spending this money there? What I think needs to happen here to keep this from going too long, and I do not want to be viewed as being abrasive here or anything like that, but something needs to happen. I would like the city manager to come back with a recommendation. My request would be the city manager comes back with a recommendation of how do we, one, rectify the fact there's been no public vote on these expenditures. From my view, mid-year budget adjustments with the total amount don't satisfy it. The city attorney may have another opinion, but I'd like that to come back. And that if there was a vote that was not authorized, I would like it investigated to see if there's some way that the taxpayers can claw back money that was spent without legal authorization. It's my view that there needs to be legal authorization ahead of a contract, and that if a contractor enters into that, I've seen with some outside opinions, legal opinions, that we might have the opportunity to seek refund of those expenditures. And so I would like this to be looked at, investigated, and have the city manager come back to us at a future date to ratify what's taken place, because I am not comfortable finding out about $629,230 worth of expenditures that I had no idea came up, that I had no idea was out here. And it's not just me, it's the public at that podium. Whether they choose to show up or not, they have a right, and we must afford that as a council. So I see
Your
there's a
point and
problem.
comments have been made. At this point, I will discuss those with city managers, and we'll bring something back to the city council, either individually or at a public meeting in the near future. If there's no specific questions for staff at this time, then we're going to receive and file this.
That's sufficient. If there's no vote on receiving it, I just want to be clear that I am not, if there's no vote on receive and file, as I understand that's the case, I object to these two items.
There's nothing to object to, as there's no vote.
Okay.
And Mr. Mayor, just if I may add, I kind of looked at this with the city attorney, and, through last meeting, everything was, although maybe timing separately, it was approved by the consensus of the council. So.
We understand that, and we'll talk more about it after the meeting. Any other comments on this item? Is there any public comments on this item? All right, with that said, we will close all the items. We'll go back to public comments. I believe everybody that's here has had a chance to do public comments at the beginning of the meeting, so we will not reopen that. Before we adjourn the meeting, we will look at the next upcoming dates. The next city council meeting will be on April 2nd. Planning Commission will meet here on April 9th. Public Safety Commission on April 11th. And all those meetings will be at 6 o'clock on those dates. We appreciate your time and your input. We are adjourned.